Hello everyone, and welcome to Old World. We are live once again with another Old World 2025 Community Tournament match. This is a round 3 elimination match, starting a brand new game here between players Sabertooth and IceMatrix. Let's do a little bit of catch up here. Let's see where we are. We have a coastal rain basin map. We have tiny and wide. Okay, so not quite an ultra wide, but we do have tiny here. So this could potentially be a little bit longer game. And let's take a look at the map. City sites that we have to work with. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It looks like 13 on each side, 2 in the center. So that's going to be about 28 city sites for this map. We have elephants in the capital. We have iron nearby, but I'm under the impression that our players can't yet see the iron as well as the marble. So honestly, this is a pretty solid, flexible capital. I definitely would not be disappointed if I picked somebody like landowners here. I definitely wouldn't be disappointed if I picked somebody like artisans. What else would I like here? Of course, champion to open with. If you're going champions for some early clear, you'd be very pleased to find the iron nearby. The elephants also would give you some land consolidation plays. I could see Hittites, cattle nearby. I could see Hittite landowners. That's always lovely. I could see... I mean, it's just one order, but maybe hunters. But normally when I do hunter starts, I like to think about growth. Also, welcome chat, by the way. Also, welcome if you're joining us on after the fact on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a like, subscribe, hop on the Old World Discord, join the conversation there. There's lots of activity around the tournament. Would love to have you. All right, IceMatrix has made his pick, and yes, for chat, welcome Rincewind, Fluffy, Becht, Kitten, everybody. Thanks for joining in. We're going to have a nice game, I think. We have a Greece pick from IceMatrix here. He does like his Greek nations. He played Greece in his first match that he won. Let me take a look at the history here, in fact, for our players today. Let's see what we're dealing with. I will just take 1 second, bring up the bracket for everybody. Well, you won't be able to see it. But yeah, let's see here. Yes, IceMatrix faced Cliff in his very first match, and he did lose his very first match. But he went up against the Kiriyama in the elimination match. That was a marathon game that took quite some time, went quite late into the game. Both players, both IceMatrix and Kiriyama, played more of a builder-style game. Very, very little aggression in that game overall. And IceMatrix was able to wonder spam, and I don't know if he won a points victory in that game, but he certainly got really close, and eventually Kiriyama must have conceded. And then he faced off against Csand in a quick one session matchup before Csand was put in a position to concede, likely due to scheduling conflicts or other reasons. And on the other side, we're dealing with Sabertooth. Sabertooth came in, I believe, was Sabertooth a replacement? I can't quite remember. Sabertooth versus Blage. Oh, Sabertooth, no, he wasn't a replacement, I don't think. Or maybe with a last-minute fill. But Sabertooth versus Blage round 1 match was a phenomenal match between Egypt and the Hittites. And then Sabertooth faced off against Aaron, who's always an incredibly difficult opponent, proving to be incredibly difficult opponent so far. And in Sabertooth's match that time, he hit a bit of a Bronze Age collapse, where basically everything between raiders and tribal invasions and rebels and everything. Just really dogged on him for about 20 turns, so he was just not able to get any momentum while his opponent was able to build up. And that brings us to where we are now. I believe that brings us directly to where we are now. Unless, was there one more opponent in that bracket for Sabertooth? Let me take a look. Oh yeah, Mongrel Eyes. That was also a good fight. Sabertooth versus Mongrel Eyes. That was a good match. Sabertooth was able to boot him out of the tournament, and here we are. And our players is whoever wins this match will have the unique and distinct privilege of proving just how bad Fluffy Bunny can be at this game, because they will go on to face Mohawk's very own Fluffy Bunny, a fierce and terrifying opponent. However, totally susceptible to getting booted and upset if the conditions are right. So we'll have to see if one of these players are up for the challenge of throwing a curveball in Fluffy's direction and sending one of the most fiercest opponents we have packing the tournament early. All right, so we do have Hunter's Capital here from Moreau. So it's a Kush versus Greece. While we are on another Coastal Rain Basin map here, we do have some variety in the faction picks, which is quite nice. I think Moreau will be happy to find the iron here. Certainly nice to have iron in a military seat. Elephants will get you the order there. We do have 3 groves. Gonna want to watch out for some land consolidation grabs. We also have a hefty bit of iron. There's iron right up here by this, well, in between both of these sites. And then there's iron right over here as well. Let's take a look at what we settled for first. Oh, cool. We settled artisans for Greece. I like that. It's really nice. Yeah, I definitely don't think this spot makes a bad artisan cap at all. You have all these mountains. It'll enhance the, not mountains, these hills. It'll enhance the mine. You get the fast urbans, decent enough growth. Greece artisans is always solid. We're going for trapping early. Really like that for Greece. Mostly because you have stone cutting, so it's very easy to go divination, but it's it can be very tricky. You can, like, put yourself in a situation where you go divination into aristocracy, or, you know, maybe you think about rushing labor force, navigation for serfdom, deal with your order issues. But anyway, long story short, it can be very easy to kind of forget about trapping, and you don't want to be in a situation where you forget about it early. You know, don't want to be on turn 40 fighting a conflict and not having any ranged units. So getting trapping right away as Greece, I don't think is a bad idea at all. And we've already have our Odeon online. Really like this from Greece as well. Cool play here. With the double workers, you are able to get your growth on right away, and he's also able to immediately start his culture boost. So we'll be developing culture in 8 turns. One thing I'd like to see here, if this were me, and I was thinking about a classic culture rush strategy with Greece, is I would be sending this scout immediately up here. I wouldn't have even come out to these hills. I would have come right here and just harvest all 3 of these culture resources. Because check this out, we're making 11 culture per turn. This is 3 more turns worth of culture in here. So rather than developing in 8 turns, you can knock that down to 5 very quickly. And the reason why I would want to do that in an artisan's capital specifically is because if I knock this down to 5 or even lower, right, then one of these workers will be able to immediately build me a theater, which means my very first specialist here could actually be a master poet instead of an apprentice one. And if you're even faster than that, sometimes your very first specialist in the capital can end up being an elder poet if you're fast enough with that culture rush, specific to Greece, because they do start with that Odeon. So that's one way I analyze my start when I'm looking at something like this, and I'm thinking Greece, I'm thinking culture spam, I'm thinking Odeons, I'm thinking science for specialists. Really, just the faster you get that theater or amphitheater online, the better. Yep, we have 2 builders, too. I haven't called attention to the rules yet. I can share with everybody that they both chose to ban Intelligent. Intelligent has not yet been nerfed here. But both players decided to ban it for now. We have an affable builder in Greece, and we're looking at an affable builder in Kush. Yeah, so 2 affable builders. And yes, question from the chat, are all DLCs used in this tournament? Yes, they are. All DLCs. We have a standard set of tournament rules that are established on our challenge.com account. And I can probably post that in the Discord if it's not already pinned. I believe it is pinned. And players are able to make a various amount of selections from those standard rules. There is kind of a default suggestion among the standard rules. However, any deviations are allowed as long as both players agree. And on that note, I will point out that I believe, yes, Behind the Throne was actually disabled for this duel. So Behind the Throne is actually not enabled in this duel. Sabertooth, I believe, is not a fan of that one. Oh, yeah, hold on. I just gotta get myself out for it, Filthy, but yeah, sure, why not? Just give me 1 second. Or a minute or two. Give me a couple minutes. All right, so we have a landowner settle here in the north from Kush. Really love that. I think that's a fantastic spot for it, just because if we do push early land consolidation, then that's just going to be great. That's going to be a great grove spot for the landowners, and it's going to be decent iron. Iron can work for landowners too. You buy this tile right away, you set up the miner there, and then boom, you got yourself a little mini military city. Not bad at all. In fact, I'd probably make both of these spots landowners, to be honest, because I'd really want to get that mine online as well faster. Or maybe I'd put this one hunters as well. Let's see if we have a settle up here. And we went champions up in the north, and all right, that's all right. A shrine will grab us this iron, which is going to be nice here. Let's see if I can get set up now with Filthy. I'm just going to call you. Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
I can. I hear you loud and clear. What I can't do, though, is I can't see the game in the multiplayer list. Is it possible to join after it started?
Unfortunately, they would have to rehost. We could ask.
Do that. No.
But yeah, no, we could always re-ask. It's unfortunate that, yeah, once the game gets started, you can't kind of hop in, because you basically, if you're casting, you basically need to be ready, basically, once it sets up.
Gotcha.
All right, let me just catch up on chat a little bit. Yeah, it is a larger map. Fortunately, it's a tiny map, but it's only wide, not ultra wide. So the players will meet at least a little bit sooner than usual in the last couple of duels.
It's a champion city on the Lavender for Greece. We're probably gonna be playing catch up because we're playing with your stream's view.
Also, chat, if you can hear Filthy, please let me know so I can adjust him up or down. And I also need to make sure that I can understand him.
Maybe if we catch when they catch a break, maybe we can rehost and I can jump into if they take a break, that is, into that. Yeah, so it is a champion city. Okay. Can you not hear me, Sion?
No, I'm partially deaf, so I turn on an audio translator thing, a transcription thing when I co-cast with people, so I can read what you're saying.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
That's been extremely smooth then, because I've never noticed that while you were casting with other people before.
Yeah, it's really surprising. It's a little sometimes there's a hiccup. One time I played a game with Fluffy that we streamed, and the entire time on my computer he was actually muted, so I was just reading what he said. And in that case, there's a little bit of a delay, but it's better now that I have my headphones and stuff set up. It's better if Like I can hear that you're speaking, but I can't necessarily always hear what you're saying, depending on how loud you are or, um, anything else like that.
Gotcha. Nice roll there. I think the second barbarian is random what it is. It's not always melee there. So that tactician getting some value is kind of nice.
Yes. Yeah, no, it is. And it's interesting how the tactician can play out there. I noticed that in one of the other games. I forget which it was because I think both players started with a slinger and both clears were happening thick in the woods, kind of like this region that we're looking at here. And one of the units that spawned was melee. And so it was really nice, even though they take less damage in the woods. It was nice to have that little extra amount of damage from that counterattack because one player had to go back and retreat and heal off, while the other player was actually successfully able to survive the spawning of the second unit. And I thought that was very interesting. I never quite picked up on that before, the value of that counter.
Yeah, for the clearing. Yep.
Yeah.
What are the wonders available in this game? Because the Grease build with the fast Odeon like that, you suggested it might be a timing push for some rushing, but I don't think it's going to be a military timing push with the distance between them, right? So it's not going to be like he hits developing and starts spamming some unit. It's going to be wonder pressure, right? So what wonders are they actually fighting over? What are the big ones?
So we have pyramids, Ziggurat, Hanging Garden. So pyramids would be for weak. Necropolis, Lighthouse, Apadana at developing. If I were doing a focused culture push, I'd probably want to make sure I grab the Necropolis there. No mausoleum, which is unfortunate because I think that's really like the coup de grace if you're really trying to do a Greek legendary push. You just punch it to strong and then immediately build the mausoleum, and then you'll be legendary in like 65 turns. But we do have the museum, though, which is nice.
Yeah, but looking at those legendary ones, I can't help but jump ahead there. I think, as you say, there's a couple good ones along the way. Museum is certainly going to be a big science one for this game. Yeah. But you can see what the culture rush is all about here with some of the most powerful legendary wonders in the game. Yeah. With Heliopolis and Colosseum both making it into this one, and Circus Maximus.
Yeah, and so the thing that's interesting here, we did a breakdown for the tournament of like what wonders have been being built, and IceMatrix currently holds the record for simultaneously the most wonders built in a game, as well as the person who's built some of the rarer wonders that haven't been seen in the game, including a few of the legendary ones. So that would be something to watch out for. The only thing that he's going to have to worry about is timing, because if he plays too greedy, I think Sabertooth is an aggressive enough player that he's not going to let IceMatrix have like 80 turns just to sit around and build wonders.
Maybe you're right, although at the same time, he is playing it's not IceMatrix, excuse me, Sabertooth is playing Kush, right? Yeah. So Kush gets the absolute maximum value out of Heliopolis. Yeah. So he may also be interested in doing some wonder stuff because he sees the huge benefit, the extra 50% on top of that. So they might both have the same idea of they want to do wonder game stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I honestly, I think that will be interesting because I definitely think, personally, for all my experiments with it, because I really got into culture rushing for a while, at least in single player, I don't think very few setups beat an artisan Greek capital in particular. To legendary. So if I was Kush,
but if you were gonna beat it, one of the ways you do it is by religion.
Yes.
By getting those access to those religious culture bonuses and then some multipliers from those wonders. And if we look right now, we're actually seeing that acolyte come out in Kush's capital, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the other thing to think about for Kush specifically, we already have 2 wonders in the capital. And if they adopt mythology, that culture boost on the wonders is also boosted by Kush's latent, 50% shrine boost. So
you're saying wonders and meaning shrines, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I meant shrines. Yes, sorry. Yes, the 2 shrines in Moreau already. Once mythology is adopted, that culture will get boosted by 50% further. So
yeah,
Which is interesting if you think about it, right? If you toss all 4 shrines in like Moreau or wherever, and then you adopt mythology for the Kushites, that's effectively, at least for your shrine culture, your base shrine culture, your mythology, that's effectively like having a mausoleum. So that's
Yeah,
interesting.
it's 8 right off the bat. And
Yeah.
the interesting thing with Kush again is because of the pyramids, the Kushite pyramids are a unique building. They're really incentivized to pick up the polytheism, right? So his plan might already be to be doing shrines in all of his cities and potentially with this early religion, also if he can get access to the culture off shrines, because that
Hmm.
kicks in before monasteries, so it's immediate. As soon as you pay that 200 civics and pop your first tenant, that culture is going to kick in.
Yeah. So it's interesting because polytheism on Kush is an interesting proposition because it's certainly immensely powerful, but I think it also requires a lot of buildup. And one of the things I like about the Kushite pyramid is you actually don't need polytheism to build the pyramid.
Right.
So, what that allows you to do is some fun tricks. Like, for example, let's say Moreau had chosen an artisan capital, they could immediately build all 4 shrines in their capital and still not run the risk of not being able to spread paganism everywhere
Yep.
because
Yep.
aristocracy would work. And that's
And the
something I
benefit of
like
that,
to
of
do
course,
if I'm doing
being
heavy buildup.
yeah, and the benefit of that, of course, being that spreading paganism everywhere makes the family members born in those cities more likely to be pagan, right? That's how that works.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
then you
yeah,
get to control the families via a single source, just influencing that religion head.
yeah.
What was the? Looks like there's some questions going on in between the players. What were they
I mean,
rehashing?
we if they want to reload, that's fine. But I think that's fine.
If they want to
Never mind.
reload, I can get in as an observer, which would be
Yeah, yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. No, we'll let them do it. All right. Yeah, it looks like we had first blood on the scout here. Technically, this has never been explicitly stated in the rules, but I think if you're doing like, um, simultaneous for the first 10 or 15 turns, and someone wants to take a whack at your scout, I personally think that's fair game. It's just, but I definitely understand if someone wants to reload that moment, then that's fair enough game.
Yeah, and I suppose the thing is, like, when you're playing a friendly game, it's one thing, right? But when you're playing a tournament, you kind of want the rules to be explicitly stated so
Yeah,
everyone's playing on the same understanding and everyone feels like it's fair.
right, right. Well, I mean, the point is while you're in simultaneous, the rules are simultaneous. So we've already had a tournament game that was simultaneous for the first 5 turns, and it was probably one of the most epic things I've ever seen because first blood was actually secured at the same time, where both players managed to kill each other almost simultaneously. It was super epic. Um, but yes, so that's one of the hiccups of playing the changing formats. I backed out of the game, so I'm gonna wait on them to reload it up, and that'll
I'm
force them
sitting
to
watching those.
Yeah,
Is there put it in Discord? Is there a password for this game?
there's not a password. There won't be a password. All right.
Okay. I am in.
All right. Yeah, it's back up.
Cool. Okay. So having a look around. It's interesting. The religion. I'll be curious to see how this plays out for them, right? Because on the one hand, we have Greece with the extreme culture stuff, and we just talked about the upside of what religion could do for your culture game if this is what they're playing to. But the upside of not playing religion early is that you get this time for these settlers, right?
Yes.
And Greece has
Yes.
certainly done a good job of pushing out those settlers and then these fast workers. And this is a hidden downside to rushing religion as a builder in particular is the time in those early cities, it's almost always going to be a settler, a first military unit, or a worker, right? Those are basically the only things you're building in those cities the first couple turns. But the builder workers are half off. So if you spend 4 or 5 turns in a city building an acolyte, you're not building that worker, and that worker does a lot of damage over time. A lot of improvements racking up.
Well, you can see it's interesting because there's 2 ways to look at it. It's like you're 100% right, but then also sometimes I like to look at it this way. It's like I think the real trick with the builder is to play the game normally. Not overemphasize building workers, not overemphasize stacking tiles. I know you didn't mention that, but I'm just tossing that in there because I've seen some players spend way too many orders stacking tiles. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because the other way to look at it, although maybe getting a worker or another settler in Moreau would make more sense, is that you also make up for lost time quicker by deviating for that acolyte, because the next worker you do build is still going to be half off. But
Yeah,
you probably want to build the worker first and then go into an acolyte. It really just depends on how much you're valuing the religion.
yeah, exactly. And I don't mean to point out if this was a right or a wrong. I don't have a right or a wrong kind of take on that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just the cost, the opportunity cost is always
yeah,
interesting to me. What do you give up by doing this thing?
exactly.
And and you're right, compared to another builder, maybe you just play normally, perhaps in some sense, right? That you may still come out ahead that way, at least on the worker element of it, right? There's gonna be other trade-offs for different archetype. But when you're playing against an identical builder,
Yeah.
so if he plays normally and does the acolyte play and Ice here doesn't, well, Ice is going to be ahead on something for that. So in this case, it looks like workers.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's always, I think the question of religion is always fascinating because if you go for it too early, you will secure it, and that's good. But also, it's just always a question of how exactly, whether you're a builder or not, how much momentum in other areas are you losing by going for a religion. It's very tricky. That's why that's why I actually love like the Hittites. The Hittites is one of my favorite factions because the question's so much easier for them because you can just go Judaism and you don't have to worry about Zoro at all.
Yeah. So some interesting things from both players. We're seeing a duplicate of their starting city for both players, or the starting family, before their third faction goes down for either of them. So we have 2 hunters out for Kush and 2 artisans out for Greece. And
I
we don't
like it.
have either third family picked yet.
Yeah, I dig it. I don't hate that. We still have the free site available for both players. So if they run into any expansion issues and they really need to get that third family out for any opinion related reasons, they can always pivot to that. Um, I
Force
think
March saves the scout.
yeah. I think if you're in a good spot for city, artisans here isn't too bad. It would be awesome if he could have swapped these two places. I think artisans in the north and then champs down here getting both of these irons would have been sick. But no way.
I think from Greece, it may suggest not so much he cares about the city spot exactly as it may be delaying his sages as much as possible. If we see his
Yes,
third faction be that, which
absolutely.
is very likely, he may be trying to swing for the high roll on the free tech.
Absolutely. In fact, let's look where we are at the moment. Currently, we're finished trapping. So if nothing else, I would wait to. I love grabbing trapping first on Greece, and also once you have military drill in your hand, I think that makes a solid early grab if you can. Maybe scoot up to labor force, and hopefully we luck into either navigation and or phalanx. That's always a fun pivot.
Greece also, because they start with drama, they
Yeah,
have the possibility of high rolling architecture, which is just
exactly.
a wild amount of science.
Yeah, it is a wild amount of science. And that's why it's like, honestly, you're fine if you just dive right into Sages with Grease, but it is always nice to give yourself a couple of nice possible other options. So right now we could get labor force, husbandry, architecture, polis, military drill, divination, and rhetoric. I'd say the only real dud in that batch is probably polis, to be honest.
What
Everything
did he
else
hit?
could be a
So we
decent
just saw
upgrade.
the Sage City go down. What was the roll?
Oh, hey, let's find out. Yeah. Oh, did
I'm
they
looking. I'm
get
listening.
administration? That's what they just got. Okay.
Oh no, they low rolled.
Yeah,
So we were
that's all
talking
right.
about all their high rolls, but they hit the worst.
No, too bad. That's not too bad. Administration is a fantastic tech to get for free, just because I never want to tech it myself. So I love being Babylon or the Hittites because I never need to actually tech administration, and having granaries is awesome.
Yeah, I actually agree with both of those sentiments. It's a hard one to make yourself tech, but you're never too sad if you have an early granary.
Yeah. So I mean, not the worst.
Yep. But from a pure science perspective, the lowest amount of science gained, even if the
Yes.
benefits of it may be useful right now.
Yeah.
All right, we see a million. I don't know if you've clicked on a Kushite worker recently. We have a very
Yeah.
optimistic setup.
Lots of pins. I like the King Shrine, and then saying I'm going to put all my wonders around that shrine for orders. I think that's pretty solid. Nice to see that. I think it can be easy to overlook the fact that the King Shrine is a source of orders. It's just an expensive source of orders.
Yep. And I do think, well, first of all, Kush again, so another bonus there. So more than 1.5 of them on that shrine per wonder. And I do think builders have another kind of hidden bonus in that a lot of times one of the downsides of investing in a wonder is it's so long before the payoff kicks in, right? But the builders have that. So something like pyramids, I mean, it's like a 4 or 5 turn build with a builder on flat terrain. So it actually comes online very quickly. Yeah. So like pyramids is a wonder as an order in of itself. Before you do the secondary part of discounting all your laws, which is great, it's straight up building an order out of that. So even with the builders, it just comes into play so quick. It just makes it such a nice pickup. And I'm surprised that, honestly, kind of surprised neither player has already built it.
Yeah, let's take a look, actually. I'm going to hop here over on who has some good stone. And, okay, so this guy, let's take a look at wonders. And, oh, we don't have do we have the civics? Yes, we do. Yeah, we're pretty close to being able to afford the pyramids with Greece. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye out on when that hits the map, because I would not be surprised if one or both players are going straight for wonders. It looks like... Oh, yeah. We can afford it in Kush. So one of these workers could build a pyramid right now.
Isn't it 600? How can they afford it?
They
or
have...
just purchasing, you mean? Yeah, but the stone. Yeah. Okay, yep. Sorry, I thought you meant they had the resources, but you mean they can afford the resources and just say absolutely.
Yeah, they 700 and some odd whatever gold, and we're headed over here. So I feel like maybe we're gonna do that next turn, or maybe we're going for the iron. We'll have to keep an eye on that.
Kind of odd. Like they both have set up saying that they care a lot about culture. Greece with their Odeons and their poets coming out, and Kush with their wonder setup. But neither of them have actually gone for the first one available, one of the better ones.
All right, so this is something I don't like. I've already talked about this already, so I'll just be brief. But really, it's like you're going to be 2 or 3 turns away from your theater here. So I don't like first specialist being the apprentice. I'd rather see that be the master and maybe build another worker in the meantime.
Yeah, a little bit suboptimal there. And on the other side, we're seeing a T1 Hunt, which I don't love. I kind of get it. I mean, he's got a lot of money, so that means his money in his mind is bookmarked for something else. It's not there to buy food. Yeah. So what is it there for? It's got to be there to buy stone, right? Yeah,
exactly. So, I mean, I get it. It's not always the best, but I mean, it's only 3 turns. It's going to be another settler, so I guess that's not the worst either. Yeah, I think Hunt is one of those things that is very difficult to evaluate, and I think it's also incredibly underrated.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's not that I think it's bad again. It's that, what does it say? And it says again here that the focus is not on expansion for Saber, at least right now, right? Or rather, it is, but that's second to his desire to spam wonders here. So,
yeah, no, it's interesting. We do have 4 cities in Greece now, and a 5th on the way. So, I mean, Sabertooth is going to have to keep an eye out on that. We're 6 turns away from a 4th city in Kush. And we did go for the iron. We aren't purchasing the pyramids. I feel like in duels, wonders always end up being one of those things where you forget to think about them until your opponent builds the first one. And then you're like, oh, right, those. Then that kind of kicks off the wonder race.
I don't agree with that, except that they both have picked builders on a particularly wide map and of rush culture. Surely they're thinking about wonders.
Maybe. You'd be surprised. I think it's hard. I think a builder is a strong opening archetype when you have a larger map, regardless whether you're wonder spamming. Just because you have that time to expand, there's less threat. It's going to get those workers up online very quickly. Like Fluffy Bunny, one of his favorite opening archetypes, is in fact the affable builder, and I would not rate him as a wonder spammer at all.
Last game, he took all 4 tier 1 wonders versus me.
Well, then there you go. That's funny. That's good. All right, how are we doing on our stats here, though? Since we do have builders, that means our science rate isn't that great. So let's take a look at that for now. We have...
I was just about to comment on that. I really like that, because one of the things I don't like about intelligent is I think it moves over the weakness of the non-intelligent archetype leaders. And I like seeing that. I like seeing how the game gets shaped. Okay, you want to play builder, you don't also get all the science. You know?
I agree, but it certainly raises an interesting conundrum of like how much is that science boost from a schemer or a scholar gonna shape up the game versus someone who picks like a hero or a builder. But at least in the case of a builder, I definitely think, I mean, they have a lot of their own great advantages. I don't think they need the science.
I agree. That's why I like to see them not get the science on top of them also being an amazing starting archetype.
Yeah. And I think we've seen enough times in this tournament so far. I mean, I've even had this happen in my own game where I lost, where a definitive tech advantage, or at least it doesn't always translate to a win. You know, you can still fumble it. You can still drop the ball. So I think even if you have a situation where the science gets out of hand in one player's direction, in one player's favor, that doesn't necessarily always mean that the game is lost for the other player.
True. It's true. There's those windows. It's windows before the science becomes too big of a difference, for example.
We do have
pyramids
the
coming down.
Kush. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's nice. All right. So that's the first wonder of the game getting started. And if IceMatrix wasn't zeroing on wonders, he definitely has the opening gun being fired by Kush here to get his head in the game and focus on which wonders he wants to make sure he can secure.
Yeah, although Greece already at developing and actually almost a quarter or a fifth of the way at least through developing. So rapidly going to have access to those strong wonders. And I much prefer Greece's settlement pattern at least. He's got quite a bit faster on the settlers.
Yeah. And I mean, as far as Sage's seats are concerned, this is a pretty solid one. I mean, we have 2 Marble, love to have that in a Sage's seat if we're going to be spamming Specialists down there for more science. And also, if you luck into a Scholar Governor, which Sages have an easy time producing Scholars, you can get yourself some quick, what is it called?
Science off the archive?
Not the archive, but the other one.
Oh, inquiries.
Inquiries. You can get a couple quick inquiries if you're looking to go that route.
I've never found building inquiries to be quick, but I hear the sentiment. But yeah, there's some science to be had if you want to invest the resources and you get some marble to do it, great.
Yeah, well, that's why I like the marble, because inquiries aren't usually quick, but a couple of marble will certainly speed them up.
Are we seeing any worker stacking? I liked your take on that a minute ago, by the way, because I think you were absolutely correct in pointing that out. It's not always worth the orders to worker stack with builders, but when it is a very quick, it is time. Is it quicker resource access at the cost of orders? And sometimes the orders are worth it and sometimes not for that. So we'll see where the players are using it. But I haven't seen it used yet on either side. Do they remember? Because it's an easy to forget thing if you're new to builders or just not thinking about it.
Well, for Greece, I'd like to think that they're probably not stacking because I don't think they need to. You know, and like if we take a look at Pella, I'd rather see a quarry and a mine happen rather than a faster mine and then a faster quarry. I think it's better to just do it that way.
There's another hidden benefit, though, and Greece is certainly one of the ones who are going to want to take advantage of that, which is when they unstack. So when you finish a turn and wait, if you don't immediately move it after that turn, they'll auto unstack. And they have a set of rules, and the rules are somewhat predictable. They're not perfectly predictable for you, but it often saves you a move if you know how to utilize that. You can let the worker get pushed off on its own and save the order of moving it.
That is cool. Absolutely something I've exploited before. That's kind of funny that you mentioned that because, yeah, especially if you stack like something big like a wonder, you can put like 6 workers on the spot, and then the turn after the wonder's built, they all fan out, and then you can just build an improvement right when they fan out, and you didn't have to spend an order to move.
Wait, does multi-stacking still work like that? I didn't think it was in the game anymore.
Multi-stacking? Yeah, you can stack as many workers as you want.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I, for some reason, thought it was limited to 2 now. I swear I tried that.
It should be. It sure as shit should be. I've been trying to tell Mohawk to do that for ages, and they don't want to do it. That's probably my number one favorite concept for a builder nerf. Is I think stacking should be limited to 2. I don't think you should. You can literally build the Colosseum in 2 turns if you want, or 1. And I don't think that should be a thing.
Oh wow. Well, yeah. I know what my new goal is in my next game. I want to get Heliopolis out in a single turn.
Oh yeah, it's 100. You need 16 workers, or 14 if it's an artisan capital.
It's fair enough.
Yep. So, Definitely the thing to do. It's one of the reasons why if you are doing a culture rush, even if you don't start with a builder, if you could get a builder heir on the throne, that's one of the things you really hit your stride. You give yourself something like the Colosseum in 60 or 70 turns or less, and then you have a builder on the throne, you churn it out in about 2 turns, and there you go. It's turn 62 and you're running around with swordsmen.
Yep.
Now, in this format, head to head, that's a greedy, risky play. Because a lot can happen in 60 turns, depending on the map size. So,
man, look at this development difference.
Yeah.
Just in terms, like, what is the worker count? And I mean, worker count, it's very easy for Kush. I can count them. 2. The worker count is 2, but two workers in 3 cities. What's the Greece worker and city count right now?
Right now, it looks like we're gonna see 2 workers in Kush and then 5 in Greece because 2 are free for Greece.
Wow.
And then if we look at improvements, we have 14 improvements in Greece versus 6 for Sabertooth. So yeah, IceMatrix is certainly playing a heavy development game. We'll see if things like going for the wonder pay off here, because this is another thing about that stacking that you mentioned. This is still a 4-turn wonder, but this is taking up 2 workers worth of development, which doesn't necessarily mean it's not worth it, but it's mines and quarries and farms and shit that aren't getting built. So it should be interesting to keep an eye on how the momentum changes.
And you say farms, and that's what I'm zeroing in on, because he spent 4 turns building that hunt. The hunt was 100 food, but his food income is still negative. And when he's finished building these acolytes, who also take food, and he's finished building his wonder, he's going to be left with like 60 food and wondering where his settlers are. So we better see some farms come down for him, or he's going to be in a world of hurt trying to fund his expansion. Now, builder pumps out a lot of money, so maybe that will carry him for a bit, but both people buying food is going to drive that price up.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. I think development in Kush is kind of like frozen for where I'd like to see it in 20 turns. I mean, we're definitely prioritizing the religion. That's always going to be a big drain there. And judging by Sabertooth recently made a suggestion about religious ties on Discord, so I'm guessing
that was our game.
Oh, was it? Nice. So something to suggest to me that he's particularly he wants to make sure he secures this. So it's still science, right? He has 16 science, and now, I mean, Greece has 17. So,
well, yeah, it's still a science per city. So if you're down 2 science or down 2 cities and up an acolyte, you're not ahead.
Yeah.
Either way. So.
Exactly. Plus, with sages, that's another thing to always worry about if you're against a sage nation and you don't have sages. That gradual increase in science momentum. That's just kind of like an inevitability of sages being in the game. Excuse me.
Yeah, I do. I really do like sages. One of my favorite families.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
I'm just confused about this lack of workers. We have he's got a landowner city too, and he's got lush. And water access, or river access in that landowner city, and horses over to the side. All of these are bonuses to farms. And then the landowners themselves give you money back for these farms. So I'd really like to see some of those coming down. He needs to fix his food, and he needs to do it before he's at 0, which he's at now, and needs another 100 for this next settler.
Well, hopefully we'll see him churn out a couple of workers from the landowner seat, because I think if you settle this city up here, landowners, what you could do is you could just start building worker from both the landowner cities. That's something I like to do. This is one of the reasons why I actually do like to double settle. If we go back over to Greece, we see 2 artisan cities very close to each other. I really like that once like a border boost pops, all of your workers are going to be able to go migrate while building improvements from Pella all the way into Byzantium, and you can just keep this flow going. And I really enjoy doing that cross borders with workers.
Yeah, I'm seeing some interesting things on both sides here that I want to point out. So on the one hand, I'm seeing an apprentice poet come out of Greece in his secondary city with another Odeon down early. Wow. This is in the other artisan city. That's kind of wild, because you often don't see the poets hitting this early for a variety of reasons, mostly because the players either they're making they're doing one of two things. They're saying I can't afford a specialist right now; it takes too much of my build queue. Or they're saying if I am going to go for a specialist, it better be one of the really important ones, like one of the ones that gets me religion.
Mm-hmm.
But poets are better than acolytes late game, as was pointed out to me recently by Aaron, and the fact that they have a bonus that scales. They have three bonuses essentially, right? More culture than the acolyte, and then the same amount of science as the acolyte, and then a bonus scale that scales on population, right?
Yeah, but they need to hit master or elder first. So
Yeah.
upgrading is always tricky. I think upgrading apprentices to masters is always a dubious proposition in most situations. I'm not particularly fond of it myself. However, if he ends up with something like a judge on the throne, by having that apprentice is already in the city, he'll be able to upgrade it, and then the specialist will upgrade. So that could come in handy.
Yeah, I like that. That's a nice trick.
But that's one thing that's nice with Greece, because I think it's often I think players can misconceptualize where science comes from early in the game when we don't have powerful text like land consolidation or hydraulics or scholarship. I mean, like even military drill is a science text, because as long as you're building specialists, it's particularly urban specialists, you're getting your science up. So I think it's nice. I like that the poet here by Greece. Only because they're up 2 cities at this point, right? So they can spare the queue, and this is science. So they're making a calculated decision to get some science, more science in their empire, and I think that's great.
First wonder for Greece, Hanging Gardens coming down.
Interesting choice.
In the Sage capital, which is a cool spot for it. Although I think the boost is everywhere, or is it local and empire?
The 20% is everywhere.
Yeah, but is there a secondary bonus that's just for the place you put it, or no? It doesn't look like it. Okay.
What secondary bonus?
Well, if I look at the Hanging Gardens, right now it's all cities plus 20%. There's also a 1.8 per year. That's what I was wondering. I'm asking because I don't.
No, that 1.8 per year is the
20%.
Estimated 20% for that city.
Gotcha. I almost never built that wonder, so it's interesting seeing that first priority. As you said that you called that out earlier, right? IceMatrix has a different evaluation than at least you were working with, and it sounds like than I was working with for how he evaluates wonders, because this is a weird one for me to see come down first from him.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that maybe he probably recognizes that pyramids is the solid one to grab early. Lots of people are fans of the ziggurat. I think that's a really powerful wonder. But interestingly enough, we've been seeing, in terms of the weak wonders, Hanging Gardens has showed up quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, maybe me undervaluing it. I mean, it's a growth boost, and a growth boost early is going to be faster cities and faster workers, which all matters.
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure where I personally land on that. I like it. It's good. I don't normally. It's not my highest priority, but I mean, I guess one way to look at it is it's basically freedom for free, for cheaper. Like rather than spending 400 civics and adopting freedom, you spend 100 civics and a handful of stone, and I think food or wood or something.
I think it's wood.
Yeah. So, it depends. I definitely think if you get lucky enough to be able to pivot to grab Hanging Gardens, it's really fun to stack it with freedom sometimes, because then all of your cities have nearly 50% growth, and that's pretty great. But I don't know. The thing with growth boosts, like I've talked before how I like freedom first if we're expanding, but I don't like that on a builder because you already have half-price workers anyway. So I feel like you don't really need the extra boost.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's one part of that to me says that just because you already have one bonus doesn't necessarily mean another one is a downside. It's not a negative in any way. So it's the opportunity cost again. And what is the opportunity cost of freedom? It's slavery. And slavery is another one that doesn't really do a whole lot on 2 or 3 cities, but it does a lot on 10 cities.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, at the same time, like even that little bit of stone and iron income is worth a lot early if you don't have mines and quarries down. So getting even like 12 a turn or something from slavery helps a lot of with the gold, right? But
yeah, I think that's the other thing that I don't think it talked about enough in that kind of. It's not that it's a debate, but in that evaluation between freedom versus slavery. I think if you're not a stone cutting nation and you didn't start the game and immediately go for stone cutting, then the value of slavery kicks up dramatically.
Yeah.
I think traders nations, especially like someone like Babylon, who has good growth, decent growth in their kit anyway. They can run traders, and they don't start with stone cutting. You could basically use the income from traders and then the passive income from slavery to float yourself without going stone cutting for quite some time if you really wanted to.
Yeah. I just realized this. Holy crap. Is this the first game in the tournament that Carthage hasn't been involved?
No. No. It hasn't been the first game. They've definitely been in a lot of games, but no, this is not
The only
first
game
match.
of Old World that's been played in the last 6 months that Carthage hasn't been involved?
It's funny because I was talking to somebody about my game with Aaron the other day, and my Carthage pick. And I actually joked because Carthage had already been, picked a little bit at that point in the tournament, but I picked that. It was like 6 a.m. on a Sunday, and there were 2 or 3 other games that day. And then every other game, Carthage got picked. And then since that game, pretty much Carthage has been picked in nearly every game. So I had a joke to the person I was talking to. I was like, oh man, if I'd known that was about to kick off like a Carthage spamming spree, I would have never picked Carthage. I would have picked anybody else.
I don't want to have to be the bad guy here, so I might need you to do it.
Okay.
I might need you to step up, and you're famous sometimes for shouting about people's builds.
Oh, I'm
so tell me what you think
happy
about
to
this
tell
disciple
somebody.
up here, and
Yeah, what do we got?
sir, this I'm looking at Kush's northern cities
Oh,
landowner
no.
capital.
Yeah, hate it.
That's right.
Hate it.
For 3 cities, we have the fourth settler is on its way, but that's it.
Hate it.
And Greece is 6 cities right now, 5 cities.
Hate it.
5 cities out with another settler coming, right? Or another settler out?
Yeah, so I really think that should be a worker, and the reason why I think it should be a worker is because, no, it should be 2 workers, really, because that's the other thing about the builders. It's like a 3-turn worker right here. So in the time that it takes someone to normally get 1 worker, you can have 2 workers, and what I love about that especially is that you can either improve this city, or I don't know what this settler's about to go be, but if it's a landowner city, I love, even though it's a little bit of extra orders, I love migrating workers. Again, you don't really have to do that too much with a builder, but you could send a second worker after this settler.
Yeah, and it's hard to imagine what this second disciple is going to do for him right now, either. You know,
If I were to guess, I'm thinking he's going to build the religious wonder.
Yeah, but this Zoro spawned in the landowner cap, right?
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
religious wonder is a disciple every 20, I think, turns.
Yeah, 20%
But the
culture
major-
though. So if he's culture,
Well, I
oriented,
know,
he
but
could
that's my
easily put
point.
that.
Is it
Yeah.
didn't spawn in his capital?
I know.
So is he going to stack culture in the landowner seat? I don't think he is.
I don't know.
So what's the point then of this early disciple if he's not going to be able to stack culture from that wonder, which would be why I might think it was reasonable to make it this early? Then it's just a doubly penalized play here, right? Because not only is he building this for kind of some weird idea, but he's also missing out on the discounted workers, and he needs workers right now because he doesn't have any income, doesn't have any improvements.
All right. Okay. I figured it out. All right. So, first of all, yes, I agree with you. Sorry, I got distracted by something because we have an order spike here in Greece, and it's because we got robust on our queen. So that's solid.
Sick.
That is a sick grab.
I wonder where Proud came from, because that is not a sick grab, but the rest of that queen is pretty good. Robust and affable.
Well, Proud's not the worst. I mean, it is a little bit of a science deficit, but you get that training, I guess.
Isn't it negative for all your families?
It's the other way around.
Non-leader. Oh, I see.
It's the other way
I
around.
thought if your leader had it too. Okay.
Yeah, characters who are proud dislike the ruler. And yes, it's super annoying when that happens.
Yeah.
I always
I thought it was for the whole family. That must be, they have a new one for that though. It's like unpopular or something.
Unpopular. Right? That one's brutal. It gives you a 5% rebel chance in every city and makes everybody, I think all of the oligarchs, automatically dislike you by like 100%.
Yeah. I think Fluffy just nailed it though. I think he's going to be right about the Zoro play. And actually we were talking about it earlier this game and I totally forgot about it. Yeah.
In fact, that makes sense because we see more shrines coming on right now here in Kush.
But again, the greed. This strategy, because this is 2 more improvements to the rest, so 3 more turns of both of his workers, and he's only got 2 workers, and they aren't building improvements that generate resources. They're building shrines.
So what surprises me the most about this, I think, is if IceMatrix was planning on doing this from jump, I'm surprised that this capital, similar to Greece, is in artisans, because you get that latent.
You misspoken. You mean Saber.
What? Sorry, Sabertooth. Sabertooth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because IceMatrix has artisans in his capital. Yeah, so I'm surprised Moreau, Kush, Sabertooth didn't go for artisans if this has been his plan the entire time, like a rapid early mythology push. Because A, you're going to get a little bit of extra culture if you're culture rushing, and then B, all of your shrines are going to come on in one turn.
Yep.
The
I'm
builder
also
and the
a
artisan
little
bonus
surprised
stack.
by the
Yeah.
hunters. I mean, I get the logic. The logic is good, right? You know, there's an elephant in there, so that's an extra order if you're hunters, and having ore in your capital means you'd like to be using that for a military city if you can. And hunters are both like an early settler city as well as a all game military city. So it makes sense, but it doesn't play well with the strategy they've chosen with the buildings, does it?
Beck, how many games have been in the tournament so far? We're at like 36, right? 36, 37? Yeah, so Beck is pointing out of 36 tournament matches, Carthage has been picked 12 times. I believe they have the highest pick. The second highest would be Rome. And then if I were to remember correctly, I think Persia is next in line or thereabouts. Which is funny though, because of the three or four nations that have been picked the most, Persia has the worst win rate, and that would have not been my prediction going into the tournament.
I think Persia's tricky to play because
Yes, I agree.
Divination on them is a trap.
Yes. I think they're tricky to play. I think what makes them tricky to play is while husbandry can work out all right, I think the fact that they start with both trapping and stone ironworking means they basically have no early econ tech. They don't have administration or divination or stone cutting, and those are all really nice to have at the start of the game.
So I find myself doing this a lot in the games I'm commenting because I often see a start. This one again feels very pronounced to me. It feels like Greece has had a much stronger start than Kush to me at this stage of the game. We're only turned 24, but you know, you see the writing from what's happened, and you see the rate of expansion and the resource economy going on. And I look at Greece and I say this has been a good start for them.
Sabertooth is going deep with his settler, skipping the last site. Will we have a settler up in time for it? No, I mean, maybe. Moreau, Moreau can get there in 5 turns. Okay. So we'll be catching up in city count shortly. We're going to have a...
What are we looking at? Trader or what's the 4th Kush?
Artisans.
Artisan, right? Yeah. So what do you think we're going to see on Double Marble? Why has he chosen to skip the salt and, you know, another farm resource, the sorghum, and gone for marble? What does he think? What is he thinking?
I'm not sure. If it were me, I'd just toss another landowner's family there, to be honest. But I mean, that's me. I put landowners everywhere.
Yeah, they're a strong one for sure. They're a nice generalist.
That's how I refer. They're basically the jack of all trades. They can flex into anything you need them to do. If there's iron there, and you know you already plopped your champ seat, well, a landowner city is going to get an iron mine online quicker than a champ seat will improve the iron and then get not a champ seat, but a regular champion city. So they can basically flex into a military spot.
I thought you were going to tell me you were going to put landowner cities on ore and not champ seats, and I was going to have to disagree.
I will put landowner cities on ore. Yeah. Not
over a champ seat.
Not over a champ seat. No. But over a regular champ city, I have no problem doing it whatsoever.
I'm not so sure about that one, but I'm definitely not doing it over a champ seat. No shot.
No, not a seat. Absolutely. Well, because the other thing too, it also like double iron becomes more tricky. Like if I have double iron and I've already placed my champion seat, right? I would rather put a landowner city in an area that has double iron than a champion city, because I'm gonna get that full iron output online faster than the champion city. So yes, maybe long term that champion city is going to get that 2 extra training, but for me the way I look at it is I have like a rough cap where it's like I'm trying to get to 25 or 30 training thereabouts, right?
I see.
And my thing is whatever gets me to that number faster. Like early in the game, yes.
Number?
What's that?
Why have you chosen that number?
Because it's basically the thing that gets anything. The majority of units in this game cost anywhere between 100 to 120 training. So 30 training, for example, can produce the majority of units in 4 turns or less. And while yes, we can keep cranking it up higher and higher and higher and get ourselves to something like 50 or 60 training to get everything done in 2 turns, I basically reach a point where the amount of investment that it takes to the amount of investment it takes to double from 30 training to 60 training feels so
You're thinking like total units over the course of a game. Then,
exactly.
Yeah,
in the time it takes me to take that city from 30 training to 60 training, I could have just been building units out of that city the entire time. And I
think there's some places where I probably agree with that, and some where I don't.
Yeah, sure, it's not universal.
Yeah, and some things like tech timings, you can't build them over 4 turns. So like if you hit the tech timing and it's not a unit that upgrades, think like a ballista or something, right? Where it's just a fresh unit hitting the board, or like an 8 strength UU or something. I guess the 8 strength wouldn't work, but a 6 strength UU works for the example, right? Mm-hmm. Where you can only start building it when a thing happens. It's nice to have a city that can really crank them out quick.
Oh, not only that, but even with so like slingers are a very interesting one, because slingers don't go obsolete until crossbows show up, right? So 30 training will crank out 2 slingers slingers in 2 turns. So that's another thing. If you're on your way up to Bodkin Arrow, well,
I don't even know that crossbows are better than like hunter slingers. When you get the option to do that, like hunter slingers are so good for so long.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're insane. So that's the other thing. It's like if I'm on Manor, right, and I know I'm pushing Bodkin. One thing that I like to do, and ideally I've set my empire up so that I've had a handful of cities that can churn out 30-ish training, right? I have everybody build slingers, because I'm going to get a slinger in 2 turns from 4, 5, 6 cities, however many cities. And then once Bodkin is done, I now have a dozen longbows.
Yeah.
So that's basically, and that's the other big thing about that number. It's that, especially in the case of slingers particularly, because you can build slingers and archers, you can build slingers and longbows. The only thing that makes them go obsolete is the crossbow. So
yeah, and as I was saying, like that strategy makes a lot of sense when you have a unit that can be upgraded, like for example, longbow.
Yeah, exactly. It does get trickier, yes. It's a lot of how I play, at least in multiplayer, it's particularly, although I guess it spills over into single player, is I'm very focused on winning the game. So I'm not playing, my game with Aaron went to about like 120, 122 turns, and I lost, and that's fine. He definitely outplayed me tactically an immense amount, but I think it's accurate to say that I don't play a 120 turn game. I play about an 80 to 100 turn game, if that. Because every decision I make is oriented around how can I end this game in 60 to 80 turns. Like, that's it. So it's not very long. It basically speed. There's one resource that I personally value more than orders in this game. Everyone thinks orders is the most valuable resource in the game, and that's technically true. But for me, there's one thing I value more than orders, and that's time. Anything that speeds anything that I can possibly do up by 1 or 2 turns, I value tremendously. That's where the like freedom logic comes from, because you figure if freedom shaves 1 turn off your settler, and then the first thing that you're going to build in that next city is a worker, and freedom shaves 1 turn off of that worker, then freedom's actually shaving you 2 turns off of that worker. And now that worker's building improvements 2 turns quicker. So now that worker...
Why don't you calculate for us how many turns Greece is ahead then in terms of build queue? Because I want to know that. Because this is a wild amount of city difference at this stage.
I certainly can't spit out a number for you. But that's, but they basically, yes. So to that point, like Greece is in a very strong position. And I actually do, because then when you factor in things like build queues, like we're going to get a worker in Neapolis here, fresh city in 4 turns. So it's going to start building improvements in 4 turns.
But to get Kush back in the game, from my perspective, Greece has decided to build a master poet for 10 turns in Byzantium.
Yeah, so that's a misplay. And this is, oh shit, you know what? And I've had a conversation, I'm pretty sure I've had a conversation with IceMatrix about this. And this is something that's worth calling out too for those watching after the fact, of course. And IceMatrix, if you happen to watch this after the fact. I'm telling you, spending time upgrading apprentices is generally a waste. I think this is one of the biggest noob traps in the entire game. Apprentices are sufficient for so much of your needs in this game. Like I cannot remember the last time I've upgraded an apprentice officer to anything else. Sometimes I wonder.
A weird one. It doesn't necessarily have a great analogy to a lot of other 4X games, and because you think about it here in this situation, this particular, and I don't know what his plan with this poet is yet, but
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, this city, it's got an ore. He's upgrading the ore. It's an artisan seat or an artisan family, you know, so it's got a little bit of extra boost from that ore as well. We're going to want to see military coming out of this, but it's also an Odeon and now a theater going up. The thing is, he's already at developing it, and it's an artisan city, and he already has the first tier of poet specialist.
Yeah.
By the time he has 7 laws, it's gonna be strong. So
Right.
what is he doing here? He's got other. If he's thinking wonders, he's got other cities that can do it. His capital's always going to be ahead of that in culture. So what is the point?
Yeah. And the other thing to think about, even if you were going to go for a master, check this out. In 4 turns, we finish the theater. If we look inside the city, in 4 turns, we'll have a new citizens. So instead, build yourself something like another worker. Oh, no, not a worker. Maybe the treasury, that's not ideal.
Anything,
or maybe a
not growth
slinger or
using,
whatever, right? You know, anything, right? And then, if you're going to waste 10 turns on a master poet, fine. At least it's giving you 3 more science, right? So that's the other big thing for those of you watching. Why it's not that the master poet specifically is bad. It's that don't build it, don't upgrade it. Like finish the theater and then put the master poet. Spend all that queue time in the other building.
I disagree with this one, just in that particular example here. I agree with that sentiment in general, that there's not a lot of advantage to upgrading them further down the master line in a lot of scenarios. But here, like, I think he wants that second population for that ore, right? Like
yes, no, right, exactly. Yeah. In this case,
what do you think about the woodcutter in the champion seat?
Hate it. Hate it, especially because it's not. If we're like, think about the time that we spent. This is peak nitpicking, but we took a worker and we built a lumber mill, and now we're building a woodcutter. If we were going to do that, put it on this tile because that's going to grab you the iron.
No, we didn't take a. I don't think we took a worker, because if I look at the tech correctly, he doesn't have forestry. He took
right.
He took
so never mind.
Culture to get the lumber mill.
Yeah, that's a culture event that gives you a free lumber mill, and I actually love that culture event. Because it actually does get you an early woodcutter, which is extra science. But again, I don't think I would do that as a champ seat. No, I
wish he had placed that. He got to choose where that was. I wish he hadn't put that on the river, because upgrading this gets the silver. He could have placed it in range of the ore.
He could have. He still could have placed it. Yes.
And grabbed the ore for his champ seat, which would have been much better, in my opinion.
That said, when those events pop up, you do have the opportunity to just click, "Hey, place it for me," and it's entirely possible that IceMatrix is not micro intensive, and maybe he just had the computer place it for him.
My friend, this is a 4X game, which is all about micro, and this is a tournament. We can't give him the pass of he chose to let it do automatically and it didn't take the optimal placement. He's supposed to be optimally placing this.
Okay. Well, I mean, we can't all be perfect. But no, yeah. He is he definitely could have put that in a better spot for sure, 100%.
Yeah, well, I think again it shows the mentality, right? Which is, and it isn't wrong. You know, we're pointing it out. The nitpicking here is we're talking about a game that goes to combat. As you say, you're aiming for like 80 turn game or something, right? Yeah. So the payoff of all these things is going to be so much later. He just culture rushed that master poet, by the way. But what he's thinking with this type of stuff is he's already in range of that ore with something else. He can get it a different way. He can build a urban building over there. Oh, he's thinking very late game with these plays, right? Because why else are you going for a culture rush master poet in your secondary artisan city?
First of all, I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind, because that's the only way you rush that is he civic rushed that.
Yep. I know. I saw a governor show up there.
Okay.
Like, was it a judge?
This goes back to another thing. If you're gonna civic rush, fine, do it on an actual. This is why. I wouldn't be surprised if IceMatrix doesn't even have the net yield tooltip turned on, because look, I'm just going to show everybody watching right now. This is what you get from this. So IceMatrix just rushed with civics a specialist that gets him literally 1 culture and 1 science. And so this is what's misleading about these tooltips sometimes, is that we think a master poet is worth 4 science, 4 culture and 3 science, but only if it's a brand new master poet, not if it's upgrading from the apprentice.
I'm not trying to nitpick these. It's always interesting to me to see the decision. A play like that, if there's strategy here, and we have to assume there is, this was a very deliberate play that he's made for this. He has a much later game strategy in mind than most of the players playing in this tournament. So, I mean, we'll be interested to see what pays off. I want to see I'll come back and I will check on this poet across this game to see what it's done for him, because I'm quite curious now what the payoff's going to be. We did see the mythology go up, so that was Fluffy calling it correctly off the disciple out of Sarub here.
I don't see
The
it though. Well,
seat.
that's weird.
Well, because you can hover the pyramids, right? Right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Hold on. Wait,
No.
did I get that wrong? Well, where did it go then? Did he spread it? Oh, he spread to cap.
Oh, gross. Okay.
Oh, I saw the culture off the.
Oh, I mean, I guess you
paganism and
have
misread
to.
that. My
You
bad.
had to. So we're gonna need another.
Well, yeah. Well, he won't get the culture boost of having done that until the religion gets to that city.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So that makes sense. Yeah, he's spreading it. Makes sense, I guess. All right. So we're halfway there. We have a new.
Well, it makes that play worse, and he may have made that mistake too. Thought he could get the culture in his capital immediately from the shrines, but yet not have remembered that he had to spread it first. So.
Let's take a look at that. We have 32 culture in the Kushite capital compared to 24 culture in the Greek capital. So Kushites have actually taken the lead here now. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to
in their
leapfrog.
capital, 14 a year.
Yeah.
In Kushite capital, which is not the lead. 14.
No.
is behind
I mean,
24.
culture, actual culture output. So currently it's 24 culture coming out of the Greek capital compared to 34.
No, it's not. It's 14 out of
Oh,
Monroe.
wait, what? That was
Yeah, you read it wrong. I think you read the total.
I must have read the total.
Yep.
Okay, never mind.
Yep.
Sucks to be Kush.
Well, it's if you want a culture rush, the hunter capital is certainly less efficient than the artisan capital for sure.
Oh, I really like the Shrine of Zeus here in Halicarnassus, right next to the Hanging Gardens.
Hanging Gardens, yeah, +1 order.
Yeah, that's not too bad at all. Nice.
So what do we want to see from this? If I'm watching Greece, I would like to see him invest in the second religion. I wish there hadn't been quite as many poets, but he's got a nice set of cities here. He's got a decent amount of military out. He's been pretty efficient with his clearing. We've been seeing that commander zealot combo just kind of wander around the map, crushing the sites that he's been encountering. He's got a nice growth wonder going, and he's setting up for late game. I'd like to see this kind of rate of expansion continue. And then I'd like to see him choose some tech that's going to get him the science that he needs to keep his military relevant. And I'd like to start seeing some military investment.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see.
I think, honestly, how much science do we got here? 30?
30 on Greece. 23 on Kush.
It would be really cool to see a comp bow grab in Greece.
Man, I'm looking at these distances. I suppose the Greek scout can see the Kush city.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does he have? I feel like
we brought in
maybe
traders
it feels
for
a little bit.
the Kushites.
Oh, that was his final one. Nice, good to know.
Whoa!
Bought
Look
out.
at
What was?
look at
what was
this
that with,
wild
though?
border grab from in the trader seat. We got all the way, probably like maybe a borders boost or something. We got all the way down to the gold here.
Oh,
Which
weird.
hey, I mean it's nice enough that it's in the gold in the trader seat.
It must prioritize that for some reason then, because look, there's goats and elephants much closer. That's a weird.
That is a
like-
very weird border boost.
Yeah. That looks like a player bought those tiles. You know,
It
that
does.
that
Yeah.
line out to that thing. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for like colonies or something.
No,
but
he doesn't have it. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. It's funny too, because like even that pickup of the border expansion, he doesn't actually have that many cities. Like
Yeah.
one of the cities that he just border boosted was a landowner capital, which you can buy the stuff on its own if it wanted to. And still no, I mean, it's just the one farm now, I guess, the barley plus the other one on the other side of where a granary is suggested to be built, but not actually built. Again, these resources just seem real weak. Can you show me the, I guess I can pull it up too, but it might be worth pulling up on stream. What's the improvements right now?
Oh,
13
yeah.
to 32. And
30,
Greece favors.
oof, 32 on Greece. Yeah, that is quite a gap now. Last time we checked, it was something like 18 to 9 or something like that, and it's getting wider. That's crazy. One thing I think that could be a risk here for IceMatrix is I don't think he has been put in a position yet in this tournament to really have a tactical challenge, with an opponent. Like I said, his game against Kiriyama was very builder-like. And his first game, he did lose, but I forget who his opponent was. I think it was somebody strong.
Do you know
anyway,
who picked?
I just
what are
find
the
it
rules
interesting
for?
here.
Well, yeah. To follow up on that thought, do you know if he picked the map?
He did pick the map.
So he has chosen the second largest of the 6 maps you can be playing. He has chosen the 5th largest.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're right. If that is something that he doesn't do a lot, it may take him by surprise the first time his opponent takes a square, the size 1, the smallest.
Well, not only that, the thing I'm interested to hear in particular with Sabertooth pattern, even though he certainly is behind in expansion, he's expanding toward his opponent. So, and just to give you an example of how drastic of a builder game IceMatrix versus Kiriyama actually was, I'm pretty sure our opponents in that match didn't establish a border until something insane like turn 80, right? So it could be a very interesting experience for IceMatrix if Kush is bold here, takes the center, which they're obviously going to do, but also even just takes this frontier Gaul site and really just kind of stakes his claim across basically IceMatrix's part of the map. I don't know that that's necessarily the smartest idea, but I'd be curious to see how IceMatrix will react to actually having somebody expanding toward him, because I don't think he's faced that yet.
Weird tech decisions on Greece too. We just saw Kush's second law up, and he has pyramids. It makes sense he's going to be prioritizing laws, and some good ones, freedom and centralization. So a science boost and more growth boost, and he needs the growth boost to catch up in settlers here. Greece, 0 laws enacted right now.
Yeah.
Only 163 civics banked. Think to that poet.
Yeah, that's gonna be, it's gonna be tiny things like that that's gonna add up. And I think even despite a strong start, if that level of play persists throughout, that's the type of the thing that is enough to throw a lead, I think.
What is the purpose of the treasury in the scholar seat for Greece? Any idea?
Could just be trying to. No, because I'd rather see a festival if we were doing that. I don't know.
Yeah, I want to talk to this player at some point because he thinks differently about this game. Whether or not this is worse or better than how I think about it is very different. I'd like to understand it a bit more because there's a lot of decisions that I don't get yet. So I like to try to reverse engineer the players when I'm watching, to figure out what their thought process is, so I can see how their take on the game shapes up throughout the course of it. So we'll have to see.
What's very interesting, and one thing I like about this is the tournament especially, is many players, both participants and viewers, have talked about how much they've learned from the tournament, because I think there's a lot of things about playing this game. There's so many things about playing this game that are not immediately apparent or obvious, kind of basically how the thing actually works, whatever it is, right? So something like building a treasury, right? He could think that's a good idea without even realizing whether it is or isn't a good idea, because it's hard to evaluate. Projects, I think, in particular, are very tricky to evaluate. I love them, but they're like Hunt. We talked about that already. They're useful, but they're very niche.
Yeah, and I want to add in a second layer to that too. Alchris brought this up with me, which was, I think the game is new enough in the sense of how much competitive multiplayer gets seen and viewed, that I don't think metas are particularly well defined in this game. You get some that are out there, and we have kind of what most players seem to think works, like intelligent and which particular archetypes to start with. But a lot of this has not really been deeply pressure tested, right? It hasn't been a lot of high-level play of very different ideas clashing to see which ideas are actually much better that I've seen. Perhaps this happens behind closed doors or in lots of, closed Mohawk games for all we know. I have no idea. But seeing it publicly is kind of interesting to shed some light on some of these strategies, and what actually pays off or not is kind of one of the fun takeouts or take-homes from the tournament anyways.
Yeah. And also, again, I just think the game is complex enough that there's so much to miss. When I started playing multiplayer, I first started playing with Alchorus, and then I even started playing with Fluffy Bunny, right? Like private one-on-one duels. And the amount of times that both of them, Fluffy included, and Fluffy is Fluffy works for the game. The amount of times both of them kind of went, Huh, oh wow, I never really noticed that, or I never thought of that. Was frankly kind of like surprising to me, because when I went into it, and I agree with everything that you just said, because when I went into it, I kind of had this concept of like, well, clearly everyone who plays multiplayer knows every possible thing you could ever know about this game. Like, they have their metas, they know how everything works, all the different interactions, and yada yada yada. But like you said, yeah, I think it's easy. I don't, because the other thing too, it's like, also, what is being competitive, right? If you're so fixated on winning, then I think one thing that happens as a result of that is you explore less, because once you figure out something that works, well, you're not going to deviate, because you don't want to now lose because you did something different, right? So
yeah, I think people can get locked into that mentality for sure.
exactly. So I think that's another thing that kind of benefited me from playing so much time in single player. I probably had 3,000 hours in this game of single player before I ever set foot into multiplayer, and I got myself to a point where I was basically, you could say, intentionally losing games just to see what would happen, just to find interesting game states. And that's the type of thing that led someone like myself to so much ability to explore and discover weird and unique interactions that don't immediately become apparent to people. But I do agree with you.
It does
Yeah.
explain that early push into Aaron as Carthage. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah,
You gave
that
me
was
such a
awful.
softball on that one.
That was terrible. Yeah, it's such a bummer. But that's such a great example. That's such an interesting thing too, because again, talking about throwing leads, right? Like, we could craft a possibility space of like, what if I never attacked him early and I just I played the game the exact same way that I played the game, but I just kept building, and then attacked on turn like 110 or whatever. It's like, would I have had, even though my strategy in the actual fight was just throw bodies at him and just overpower him, and that failed because he played tactically so well. It's a question of like, well, if I just saved everything up till that point and didn't fight a losing battle halfway through, would I have had that momentum to push through? It's really interesting, the ways that you can think you're ahead and then find out very swiftly that you're not. And in that fight in particular, man, it all comes down to two things, that botched invasion. Opinion. I'd failed to check my own opinion before I attacked. He had friendly on all his families, and I had crap opinion. And then the other thing, those damn Sentinel Slingers, man, they're basically archers.
Yeah, I know. Sentinel Slingers are absolutely nuts.
They're nuts.
I agree 100% with that. Yeah, and they're actually better than archers in the sense.
And I had archers at the time, and that was
I
lulled myself in the sense of like, well, slingers versus archers, that's a fight that I win. And no, it's not. Not if they're Sentinel.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail like that. I was just
sorry guys
for the lulls. So my bad.
No, but it is funny, but it's not a what. It's interesting.
I'm gonna call you back to the game for half a second to the game at hand here, because Greece is doing something yet again that I have no understanding of why.
Where we're at.
We're seeing triple warriors coming out now in a row along his city line, but I don't know what for. Is it for better clear? Is he running into like his clearing slowed down with 3 years out? Is he close to an upgrade? Are we going to see like spears or axes in a moment?
I don't hate it.
He's not close to spears, although he is unlocking the prerequisite tech. And steel is not in the repertoire of ones he can draw next, right? We know what his draw is gonna. I guess no, he can't.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. I don't hate it. The reason why is because Byzantium's pretty well developed, right? Chalkis doesn't really have anything else you could be building at the moment in terms of specialists, right? And we have so many workers. The biggest issue I think you run into as a builder with that easy access to worker is that you can end up choking out your order economy because you have so many workers and you're always trying to make them do something that you realize, shit, I can't move any of my shit. So honestly, I don't hate the three warriors here. I think what else would, like, give me an example in Chalkis, for example. What else would you build in Chalkis?
Well, I will give you another hypothesis here. So maybe he's done what you've done, which is this is the best thing I can build with the available things I can build, or maybe it's a response to these Kush units moving by his scout in the middle, taking both the city, the center of the map, the very center already claimed by that slinger, and more moving across now for the other center city right there. So maybe he may want to contest this. He may want to contest those city expands, which might be some action in our first session.
Not only that, you are a champion nation and your opponent is similar to you, which means the only way that happens is if they've kind of been producing a lot of military, because, by default, you should end up with, a champion city at the start of the game in the first 20 to 30 turns, it should be very easy for you to end up in a position where you're stronger than your opponent because of that champion output. So in my mind, there's this kind of like sort of passive implication that if I'm a champions nation and my opponent isn't, and we're similar on turn 20 or 30, I'm actually behind in military production.
See, I will answer your question now, the one you posed me a minute ago. What else could you be building in these places? And I'll give you two answers for two of the cities.
Sure.
Which is, I think Chelka should probably get that. So I guess he doesn't have it on improved yet. Maybe that's why he's doing it here, because it is not so much, there's culture in the champion city, which is something, but that's not really why. It's that he doesn't have a source of salt anywhere else, and that is one of his family luxuries.
Okay.
So he's going to want that improved sooner or later, and this is not a bad time to do it. But I agree that I would have liked to have seen the Thebes spamming a few more warriors. It's just so much more efficient to do it in the champion cap than pretty much anywhere else, unless there's a good reason not to be doing it there. So I would have liked to have seen that kind of more centralized and then spread out like this. And I really don't like it in this this artisan seat that he's just invested all those resources in for culture. So now making 21 culture a turn in this I said artisan cap, didn't mean that. I meant the artisan city here. This is Byzantium.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the ore upgraded. Like he's got 2 levels of poet and 1 level of acolyte, but no ore. I don't want it building warriors. I want to see that ore come online before it builds any warriors.
Yeah. No. Yep. Well, that's why it's a bummer that we even went to the Master Poet. If we bring this all full circle here, we put a turn or two into the Master Poet, then we rushed it, right? And then how many turns now until we get a citizen? We're 2 turns away from a citizen. So if we put a couple of those turns for the Master Poet into this warrior here, we would be less turns away. We could basically, by the time we have the citizen ready for this iron,
the same, right?
But we would have effectively had a warrior, or been like, we'd only have two turns left on the warrior, right? So
it's the second tier poet, so it doesn't take another population. But if that you could use that same logic though and say if it was a festival instead of a warrior, then yes,
right.
he could
So
have the ore. Yeah.
So that
because building the poet doesn't stop his growth.
No, I know. So what I'm saying is we could have had, like, in the time that we're ready to build the iron, we could have had maybe 2 turns left on this warrior. If we never bothered to build the poet. Then would be basically getting some efficiency by, we get that extra unit if we feel like we need it, and we saved ourselves however many 100 civics he spent on that thing.
Yeah, I missed your point originally, but you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
I do like to see on Kush's side, I see a couple things I really like here. I like seeing that 3-tile road. That's a growth boost for almost his entire empire, connecting that river to his main city. It's easy to forget about the connection boost, and when you can find something like 2 or 3 tiles of road that gives you multiple cities connected off that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think it literally connects every city in his empire, right? Because he's settled along that river, except maybe the very center one right now.
All except for the central site that he just settled, yes.
Which I also kind of like, like I didn't really like his early expansion plays, the Kush player here. I thought it was a little bit slow for my liking, but I do like that he has gone out of his way to settle directly forward, as you pointed out, and now he owns the center. It's much harder to dislodge somebody most of the time than it is to prevent them from getting entrenched in the first place.
Sure, so especially if they're fucking Hunter's Nation.
Yes.
Because we do have Hunters in that
Nation
center,
is a huge pain.
Yeah. Huge.
And we're seeing a nice little farm setup over there in his capital. I would have liked to have seen this in the landowner city where the farms are also giving him gold as opposed to in Moreau. But at least we're seeing the farms out there. So he is working on fixing his food economy. He's going to need that all game, if not for more settlers, but for all of his specialists and later any of the horse units that are going to be good on a big map like this. So he's going to need to do that sooner or later. So it's good to see him finally stepping up there. And I feel like, weirdly, it sometimes happens. Like it's almost like players go through, like, I don't know if this is mental or if this is actually something to do with the way the resources pan out. That I often feel like players go through like waves of expansion in their empires. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. I think it's I think there's a natural ebb and flow to it, because I think the way orders happen, the way, like you said, with resources, because at least in Kush's case, he has 0 food right now, so it kind of ends up in that situation of like, well, how am I going to get that 100 food? It does end up becoming more and more expensive. And then also things like pacing in terms of like, you want to make sure, especially in the dual meta, right? Like you want to make sure that you're not neglecting to build an army, so suddenly your build queues have turned into like we noticed in Greece, 3 warriors, things like that. So I don't know if there's a formula to it, but
Yeah, no, I bet you if you watched a bunch of games, I bet you if you analyzed a bunch of games and the way the timings work, I bet you'd see something out of that because it always feels. I notice that pattern a lot, and maybe it's there, or maybe it's just in my head, but I always find it interesting because Greece was very good about pumping out cities for quite a while, and they've slowed that rate. Right, they were
Yeah.
on 6 not long ago, and they're what, just 7 now?
Yeah.
Still 6?
Well, that's what's interesting to think about too. It's like in the time that Greece is now at 7, and um, Kush has
Which is
caught
up
up
to 6.
quite nicely.
Yeah, which
But
is
the
weird
other
because
thing
when we
about settling,
looked,
though, is that we've talked about is it's also come down to improvement time. Like being 12 turns delayed on a city is a big deal because that's like 3 or 4 improvements.
yeah, 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 and that count I think is still in pretty solidly in Greece territory. Let me see if I can find it.
I do
Improvements are now
like,
41 to 17.
yeah, I do like seeing
Yeah.
another scout. Maybe not the best place to build it, but it's only 2 turns in the capital, so I do like seeing another scout from a row, just because scouts are so important. It can be something you can easily forget about. It's really nice to
Yeah.
have 3 scouts rather than just the 1 scout.
Yeah, they're very powerful. There's a lot of vision in this game if you want to pay a little bit for it, and scout vision is very difficult to get rid of. So
Yeah.
like once a couple of scouts are established in some like neutral forest that no one's ever going to have a worker near, they stay there for a long time. Seeing another treasury out of Greece, this time in the champion capital. Nothing makes me more bummed out than that, I think. I think is that the single largest family bonus, a 50% bonus like that? I guess not, right? We're seeing 100% for, but not build bonuses mostly. These are like yield bonuses, I think. I think that might be the single largest like percentage increase that I know of any family for like actual building of a thing. To not have that 50% extra military being used on military sometimes
Yeah,
makes me very sad.
Treasury and Thebes is awful. And well, kind of like what you were saying about build queues, right? It's something I often do. The value I place in the champion seat is that I can settle the one city and I can spam, especially at this stage where we're just building warriors and slingers. I can spend 30 turns building literally just warriors and slingers from one build queue, and it's going to cover my bases for like half a dozen cities.
Exactly. Because I think this is one of the things that when I teach players this game, I repeatedly stress is specialization is very powerful in this
Yeah,
game.
100%. I agree with that. In
Yeah,
fact, I
yeah.
go so far as often with champions cities in particular is I don't even build a worker first. What I do is I start building warriors right away, and then once my capital is ready to churn out, like hopefully, ideally, my capital is churning out cities. But once I'm ready to settle a second champion city, it's actually the second champion city that builds a worker and then sends it back to the champ seat. I go
Yeah.
crazy with it. I like lean in hard to this city literally just building units.
Yeah, I think certainly in the dual meta too, I feel like getting that second city down as a military city, if you didn't start military city and capital, and there's often a lot of reasons not to do that, is super important. And you don't want it building a worker first. You want it building military so you can keep your clear rate up.
Yeah,
So I agree. Yeah.
100%.
It's just so I guess that's probably a better way to think of it. What I was trying to describe is the champion seat is probably the most specialized family city combination out there. So
Agreed.
it is crazy to not see it
100%.
working its specialization.
And that's what's nice about it, honestly, because it's like there's no thinking there. It's like, what do I do with this city? Where do I put it? I mean, obviously, if there's iron around, that's great, but it honestly doesn't even matter where it goes. You just put it down and churn out units from it because that's what it does.
Yeah. And also, like he's building a treasury, and maybe he's thinking late game the payoff for the treasury is, he gets the the 2 military training per round off
Two
that.
training,
Yeah. But he's Greece. He could be building Olympiads, which are permanent
Yeah.
1 training forever, and you don't have to build a treasury.
Yeah.
Like
Agreed.
So
I
just
think
kills me.
Olympiad, going back to projects being underrated, I think that's another one that's underrated because you have a nice marble spot like the Science City. I mean, look at this. We get 3 turn Olympiads. One thing I like to do before we level up culture is you churn out a couple of these, in just 2 or 3 turns each, and now all of a sudden you have the science of a regular military city.
You mean the training? Yeah.
Sorry, the training. Yes, the training.
little volcano in Greece, and I do see why these treasuries are coming out. This is his solution to being negative gold right now, is he's gone with treasuries. I don't really like that.
I don't
And
like
the
it.
reason why I don't like it is that if you're going to do a solution for gold, I think villages or hamlets rather, where I'd prefer to see you do it. First of all, I'd rather you put your gold resources online to begin with. There's like
Yes.
gold in the same city building a treasury. But
Yeah.
what I want to do is I want to shift the burden to making gold to my workers as opposed to my city queues most of the time.
Yeah.
Now, maybe that isn't the case here. Maybe he has enough open city queues that aren't building anything that he particularly needs. There's no combat right now. He doesn't have a next tier of unit. He doesn't really want to spam warriors forever. They don't upgrade quite as nicely as like slingers. They don't stay quite as relevant as slingers for most of the game. So maybe there's something about he just doesn't want to spam more units here. But I don't love that.
Yeah,
particular
well, and then
selection.
the other thing too is like, even when it comes to making the decision, like building a hamlet or something, it's like, what at the end of the day, what is gold, right? Gold is resources because the
Yeah,
market is
yeah,
global. So it's like,
yeah.
honestly, even if you ever, I think some players, even if we were sitting at like negative 100 gold right now, right? I think some players get way too hyper fixated on solving the gold crisis in their nation when it's like, literally, dude, just keep building quarries or mines or farms. It's like, it's just keep building shit, because if you have 97 stone per turn, then having minus 100 gold per turn isn't going to matter shit. It doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that's true. It literally doesn't matter at all. Sometimes I think about it in terms of like the other things I want to do. Gold is also a very flexible resource.
Yeah.
I suppose you can always sell in response to those things. Something else to point out, the Queen of Greece has gone insane. She is now
Nice.
-3 wisdom. So
Nice. I also
don't
haven't done a
really know a
stat
lot of
check.
the insane events, but
I haven't done a
yeah.
stat check on the Kush leader anytime soon. So we have Warlike now, which is nice. Delver, which is also solid, and we're blessed. We are ill though, which is unfortunate, but being blessed could help with that potentially.
I might give you just a little break here, Sion. I need to take care of something real quick in real life. But maybe you could give the viewers a recap of some of the major statistics like science and improvements and culture and things like that. And I'll be back in just a few minutes and we can keep going down our little rabbit hole and tangents.
Yeah, sure. All right,
Right
so
back.
it's about turn 33 here, so probably just getting out of the early game here. Let's do a stat recap overall. Overall wealth, our players are roughly equal here. We have 1,800 to 1,400 in favor of Greece. Total population, both players are at 15 population. Specialist count, double the amount of specialists. So despite that kind of misplay with the poet that we've discussed previously, IceMatrix has twice as many specialists as Kush, even though Kush did open up and go early acolytes. We have 10, well, this is going to be 12 workers total if we factor in the 2 freebies. So 12 workers in Greece and 10 for Kush. 5 military units being built in Greece overall and 3 in Kush. So I have to imagine like one of these units must have come from a tribal clear event, because it does look like we have a few extra units down here. So that's always one of the nice things of clearing rapidly, by the way, is that you can luck into those free units. A couple of extra free slingers or warriors at the start of the game certainly is a nice deal there. Let's take a look at units camps cleared. Rather, both players have actually cleared 5 camps. 8 technologies in Greece to 6 for Kush. We have need to scroll down here. We have 46 improvements in Greece to 19 off of Kush. So the economy in Greece is fantastic. Like, the development is fantastic. I think with some plays like that poet grab, and again, with the fact that IceMatrix hasn't really been tested in combat yet, I think we'll be looking between the 2 players here long term is coming down to tactics, coming down to overall like micro decision making, because I definitely think Greece is off to a strong start. Power score currently slightly favors Greece, but more or less both players are even, 270 to 240. We have order economy, Kush taking a jump up there real quick. Let's take a look if they have serfdom yet. No, they do not. I wonder where that jump came from. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Probably, oh yeah, their pyramids are getting set up across the territory, so probably pyramids. And let's look at science. Science is a lead for Greece at the moment. 33 science to 25, 622 in the tech tree overall to 574 for the Kushites. So both of them are more or less relatively even in tech. Kush does have 2 laws already to Greece's 1. 7 cities in Greece, 6 cities in Kush. Still ill on the Kushite ruler. And let's do an air check. All right, welcome back. We're going to do an air check. And in Greece, we have a 13-year-old educated, witty philosopher student. So that's going to be really nice science on an air there. And in Kush, air check is a Delver builder uncouth who's already 25. So we'll get a second builder on the throne. If we are trying to culture rush, are trying to get to legendary, we'll have a builder alive to do some stacking of later wonders. So that's nice for Kush. Welcome.
Does the red line next to Kush mean they are gone? Or is that me DC'd?
What's the question?
Is Kush still in the game?
Kush? Ooh, they might have disconnected. No, that means it's not their turn. That's not.
Because red when it's not their turn?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Currently. Oh wait, no. It is his turn.
I don't think that's right. I think that's a connection.
Yeah, maybe. Well, let's take a peek.
It is paused right now. Was there? Can we access their chat, or like can we see what they were saying? Did they say something to each other that we missed?
I don't see anything.
Yeah, me neither. So I was asking if we could pull up their
chat. I'm
log.
looking at the Discord chat, and there's no conversation between the two of them at the moment.
Okay.
The timer is paused, though.
Yeah, it makes me think that they had planned it. So what did the demo say? Give me the 30-second recap without going through the whole thing again.
Kush is, Greece is off to a strong start, not too far ahead.
Okay.
But otherwise, most stats are even, with the exception of the fact that Greece's improvement economy is just eclipsing Kush's dramatically. But a lot of the stuff like wealth and specialist, they're the lead on specialist. Greece has twice as many specialists as Kush as well.
Yeah, which will be science. It will be kind of like low amounts of consistent science is kind of how specialists behave.
Yeah, so basically my analysis here is that I think it will come down to tactics, as most games do, but also I think when we think about that decision for rushing the upgraded, not the new, but the upgraded Master Poet in Greece, I think it's going to come down to the difference between a lot of micro decisions like that between the two players, because I think if IceMatrix is prone to make those type of decisions and Sabertooth isn't, then Sabertooth should have enough time to kind of catch up. And
what was that going to have cost? Probably like somewhere minimum of like 200 civics.
Yeah, probably easily.
Probably more than that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's sitting. Greece right now doesn't have slavery, or he has the tech for slavery or freedom, but doesn't have it enabled because he's only got 33 civics.
Exactly.
You know, like stuff like that's gonna hurt. I mean, he's on 7 cities.
In
slavery
fact,
right now is 28 a turn on both of those resources, right?
Yeah, and in fact, it looks like we're also spending a lot of governors in Greece as well. I think having governors is useful, but also not always necessarily the biggest priority. But he's playing. Other than certain things like that, he's playing well enough. And again, the other issue is going to become is I really don't think IceMatrix has been tested tactically at all in multiplayer yet. We played a match, he and I myself. Before the tournament started, and it concluded without us ever actually fighting a battle. So even against a arguably like stronger opponent like myself, like we never even got into a fight. So it's going to be interesting to see how IceMatrix handles himself in an actual tactical situation, and I think Sabertooth is going to put him in that situation.
Is there any chance you might have missed them ending the session?
No. I finally figured it out. Sabertooth is restarting his computer.
A couple of things to maybe look at here. I haven't looked at the ambitions right now. Kush has make peace with the tribe, which is a really miserable one, and control 20 urban improvements. 20 urban improvements ought to be very easy with this number of cities, but make peace with the tribe is kind of it's kind of a crapshoot. You're very rarely going to invest the resources in it, and the events for it are actually kind of bad. Like you don't get a very consistent return of a positive outcome for getting peace, even with good ratio, even with good standing with them. But there are the kind of trap event of, you get the peace for a turn, -1 legitimacy, then you get an invasion, which is a really nice thing for the player most of the time if you can handle that.
That's the best.
So that's always possible.
That's the best thing to hope for. Like, if I get that make peace with the tribe ambition, and I haven't had that tribal invasion event yet, I will sometimes take it because that event feels common enough that you can kind of roll that dice and you literally just get the 1 turn piece, right? So you finish the ambition and then you take the tribal invasion, and that you just get 20 legitimacy for very little work.
Fantastic. Yep. And interestingly, Greece's ambitions are real. These are some weird decisions again, right? Because he's chosen to take, and I don't know what his options were. I haven't been following the events closely, so I'm not judging these as his ambitions. There might have been totally worse ones or worse outcomes if he didn't take them. But 2,000 money for a guy who's at -13 per turn is not lovely. It's going to be a challenge. I mean, he could just sell resources. It's a stockpile, not a produce or and 2,000 is not a very big threshold. So he could probably just buy that off right now. How much stone is he sitting on?
I don't think he quite has it, but he could get close. Close. And honestly, I haven't kept track of how long that ambition was there. Maybe that informs some of the treasury plays.
Could be. So Greece has finished 2 ambitions. Also has the control 2 wonders, 1 strong, 1 whatever, and polytheism, which is kind of later in. Well, it's not. Polytheism is available at monasticism, so he's not that far off. Okay. So these are very doable ambitions for Greece. Kush's 1 is very doable, and the other maybe not so much. Greece has finished 2 ambitions. What has Kush done for finished? Has finished 2 ambitions as well.
Mm-hmm.
Something we maybe haven't mentioned yet is the Kushite pyramid. I mean, we talked very briefly about the Kushite pyramids, but I think they're an exceptionally great building. Not only do they, as you pointed out, spread paganism, which you can't do reliably in other empires before polytheism because you just don't have enough shrines for the number of cities you have. And this guarantees you that. But they and that's also culture.
That's culture, yeah. I think people overlook the fact that it's culture, yeah.
The thing I think they overlook is the legitimacy. Legitimacy is a deceptively good. It hides how good it is. For legitimacy per city here, essentially, is it's 4/10 of an order, but it's also family standing, right?
Yes.
So every city he drops down for this, he puts another pyramid out. That's another +4 to all of his families for the entire game.
Yep.
That's a really powerful family boost over time.
Right. So 10 cities, for example, that's +40 opinion that's permanent.
Yep.
In addition to the fact that, yes, I think people often will think about the order output of it because basically it's like putting down an extra garrison, right? Almost. And that's nice. And I think that's easy but to conceptualize. But I do agree. I don't think people realize the fact that keeping opinion high in Kush is a very easy proposition. And that's actually one of the reasons why I like to initially... Well, actually, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's why it's just so easy because you can make everybody pagan just by spreading temples. I'm sorry, the pyramids, and it's really, really nice.
That's such a powerful bonus too. If everyone, people, you spend hundreds of training points to get these matching 25% bonuses, right? But if you're standing in a happy city with a pleased family in the unit, or rather, if you're standing in a pleased family's borders with a matching unit type, that's 20%, right? It's 10% modifiers, which is basically the equivalent of a 25% modifier for matching terrain. And you get that on top of everything else. So
exactly,
it's just very, very powerful. And if you have on top of that, like something like Sentinel, you have controlled the terrain, so you've marched your borders right up to the opponent's borders, and you're fighting in your borders, and they're fighting in neutral or unhappy family borders, it's a huge difference in combat strength. And for everything.
And I mean, not to go relitigate the whole thing again, but that's exactly the scenario I faced with Aaron because he had an orator on the throne and all of his families were friendly and it was just a nightmare. And so it really adds up. And that's one of my favorite things about combat in this game is that modifiers and stuff can come from so many different areas that things like how well you manage the politics of your nation
it's fun
is super important. And for a strategy game, we're like conceptually even though whatever, we're playing a strategy game, we're fighting wars or whatever, but conceptually we're all running an empire, right? I actually think it's awesome that the political situation of the empire actually has meaningful game impact.
Might be fun to have in a future DLC something to do with very short destabilizing of your enemies' families. Like something like 3 turns of minus, I don't know, 50 or something, just to break those thresholds for combat strength.
Yeah. I've always thought it's way too deep for this format, I think, but I've always thought jurisprudence insurrection could be a little more interesting for the multiplayer scene. Maybe if you had the chance to start a rebellion or something, that could be fun.
Have we seen any agents taking down walls for important pushes yet, or does that not happen in the tournament?
I don't think we've seen. We have seen portcullis and agent networks get set up. I don't believe we've actually seen a treachery mission bring down a wall yet. Certainly not time.
Too bad. Those are fun.
Actual attack. But yeah, no, they're great. They're great. I'd love to see more of that.
Players back at it. That's good. In the game, reconnected, continuing to play. Very nice.
Pella has reached strong now, so we have the opportunity to put an amphitheater in the city when we want, and pretty decent. Well, I mean, interestingly enough, that's not decent culture, but we can get a stonecutter really quickly. 3 turns. That's not bad.
He's done a really weird thing here, which is he very early on, this being he being IceMatrix here, the Greece player. He invested heavily with the quick theater, quick Odeon. Like really saying, and he picked an artisan starting capital. He really said that I care about culture and I'm going to do something with it. And then he's not done anything with it. And then and in addition to that, he's not continued to invest. And if we look now, Kush's capital, which was way behind for a long time, is now ahead in culture per turn, just by a little bit, but it's ahead now. That's kind of wild to me. Now,
Joe, did we finally get mythology? We did. We finally got mythology. Yeah. So yeah, let's take a peek here. Yeah, we have 26 culture per turn in the Kushite capital compared to 24. Yeah. So that's going to add up, I think. I think it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we're still quite a ways behind the strong threshold, but if you stack it and if he keeps wonder spamming, he'll be able to leapfrog.
Yep. And Greece has, as you said, gotten to strong first, and we'll do that. But at this rate, we'll not be getting to legendary first. So this is now Greece's time to take their pick of the strong wonders if they want to do that. Yes. And I've just seen, a granary go down. Like, where's the timing? Like, you want to synergize these things. This is a 4x again.
Well,
right?
the issue we're also having right now, too, and I hate to harp on him because, I mean, IceMatrix, when you watch this, if you watch this, like, we're all saying this from the interest of also trying to teach, and impart, knowledge or whatever. But it also comes back to that poet. What we have in Greece right now, we only have 90 civics, so we can't even build any of the wonders if he wants to.
Yeah. That's a good point. He literally, it's 300 civics for the
and his
strong
stone
wonders.
income's phenomenal. He is making 100 stone per turn, so he has a pick. He has so much better stone income than Kush right now, so he can run the table on the wonders right now, but he's just not. I don't think he's using his civics well.
It's funny because this is again where treasuries kick you, and he's building an apprentice poet in friggin' his military seat. Yeah. All right, we got to talk about this for a second because there's another hidden downside to spamming these random specialists, which is your civics income is all of your local civics income. Is that you don't use is your global civics income. That's where it comes from by and large, right? So every one of these cities is building a treasury, and every one of these cities is building another specialist. His global civics is not going to be going up because every one of his cities is using their local civics. So he's not going to get, he's only making 57 a turn here. It's going to be ages before he can even choose one of these wonders that he's spent those early resources investing in to get access to. So I would like to see that have paid off for him. I'd like to have seen him go, I'm going to go early culture. I've clearly set up with this in mind, and I'm going to save the resources to have the things that I saved up for available to me when I get there.
Yeah, and you know what? It's just really, if we could get the 300 civics, the museum is on the table. It's 7 science per turn. Just right now, obviously that will go up, but that's still a sizable science increase for this stage of the game. And really, I mean, with the stone income that we have right now, you're one solid chopping spree away from being able to make this happen. You just need the civics.
Yeah. Weirdly, I'm not sure. I mean, I see Saber as reconnected, but if you look, all of his city, nothing is moving in his empire. All of his city queues are empty, and his timer's ticking down, but I don't know that he can move.
No, I just saw him slot in a settler.
Okay.
Yeah, he's doing stuff.
He's also had a leader switch, I believe, right? His
the builder child, the uncouth Delver, has taken the field. Has taken let's see what we have. We can get a new worker in Moreau and become prosperous. We can become fierce. Or we can get more culture. And we took the culture. Yeah, he's definitely culture rushing. So that's all awesome. I do want to talk about that real quick for the viewers. If you are, whether you're playing multiplayer, single player, or whatever, if you are culture rushing, if you're really concerned about culture timing, wonder timing, getting legendary as quickly as possible, those events that give you, plus 30, plus 60, plus whatever culture, they don't seem like they add up, but they really do add up. So always keep your eye on those, plus 80 culture in the capital events that can pop up. And Kush did just get a succession event that put 80 culture in its capital, so that's nice.
Oh man, I don't see a single settler coming out of IceMatrix right now.
Yeah, it seems like he's not really oriented around expansion. I imagine he's going to clear this Vandal site down south. He looks like he's healing up a little bit with this military. He does know about Kush in the center here, but I really think he's kind of showing to me, IceMatrix is kind of showing to me, I think, what feels like a level of timidness. I think
you think he's not expanding because he is worried about the troops around there?
I'm thinking in terms of his direction. I think he's going to clear south to the Vandals. I think he's probably going to take out the Thracians. I would not be surprised if we don't see, if we see IceMatrix not pressure this Gaul site, because I feel like he probably is not keen on establishing a border with Sabertooth anytime soon. Because he just very likely won't want to deal with that pressure. I feel like the game state shifts. In this meta, in this dual format, I think the gameplay shifts a little bit as soon as you establish an actual concrete city-to-city border with somebody. That just, it requires you to pay attention to it. It requires troop presence in the area and all sorts of things. It leaves you open to attack, which can drain orders and all stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if IceMatrix is trying to avoid putting himself in that position because, again, he's never really been in that position yet. He really hasn't.
Third game, too, and he's won 2 of them, and he hasn't been in that position yet. That's wild.
Yeah. Well, the Kiriyama one was very builder-oriented, like I said. And in that sense, what I mean is neither... We talk about how IceMatrix isn't expanding towards his opponent, and Sabertooth is, right? In his Kiriyama match, both players did what IceMatrix are doing now. Both players did not expand toward each other at all. So the time with which they met and really started brushing up against each other was very, very late in the game. And IceMatrix's second game in the lower bracket ended up with a concession due to scheduling reasons and stuff. So that game, they played one session and they had their setup phase, probably 30, 40 turns. I don't know. I didn't watch it. And then it concluded. So yeah, IceMatrix unfortunately hasn't had a really solid opportunity of being tested tactically yet, and it's a bummer because I think as we rise through these brackets, the competition does inevitably become more fierce, and I think he could use that experience. Because honestly, I think that's one of my biggest weaknesses. As I often joke. Knowing everything about the game doesn't necessarily mean I'm good at it. And I think tactics particularly is one of probably my biggest weakness in the multiplayer scene, because I have, nearly 4,000 hours playing against computers, not human opponents.
Sure. Seeing some very, very greedy tech selections from both players here. Neither of them have access to a unit stronger than a slinger or a warrior yet, and neither of them are particularly interested in it. We're seeing a wave now of warriors out of Kush because of the barbarians giving them trouble. The clear rate's going to slow down, and what that really means, it's not so much that you're not going to be able to clear, it's going to be the number of orders you spend to get any clear are going to go way up.
Yeah.
That's what this is going to mean. And we're still not seeing, there's no tech for military drill out of Kush, there's no tech for spears, and you can't even get to axes without military drill. So this is still further greed down that line. But to be fair,
though,
the opponent's not doing anything.
Yeah, well, interestingly, though, we do have hydraulics targeted, so I think that's aggressive in terms of the sense of the mid-game potential push. But yeah, if...
God, but how are you going to... I mean, that's a defensive play again, almost, right?
Yeah, true.
How are you going to get ballista across the map on a map this size?
Yeah, that's fair. The map size, I don't think I quite factored in the map size, especially because these rivers aren't going to help you since the siege don't get that movement boost across rivers. Yeah. You're going to need to road the whole damn thing.
Yep, and there are no, just that initial road for the city connections makes total sense. And he does have access to traders, so he can road faster if he wants to. But he's going to have to build them up front, really.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see.
And if I look at these techs, I'm also kind of, I guess the land consolidation in your champ seat isn't that exciting. And how many other... groves are we seeing? Not that many. There's a fair number, but not a million. I could see land
I mean, I feel
consolidation
like
not
there's a
being
lot.
super
There's
important
2,
here.
4, 6, 7. I'm thinking at least 7.
Yeah,
Which is a
but
decent
they're not
amount.
super well, like, if you look at, like, the honey's not in there. I'm looking
Yeah,
at
yeah,
Greece
yeah.
now. Honey's not in there. Incense isn't in there. The wine and the lavender up to the north should be in there. It kills me this ore is not yet in that champion seat. Like, that's gonna be my first target of border expansions when I put a champion seat on that spot. When I see
Yeah.
that ore 2 tiles out, I'm like, crap, I missed that. I need to get something to get that in my borders immediately.
Yeah, and we did even put the shrine there to expand to that border. So I mean, not really taking advantage of it.
Where's the? I'm sorry, I'm looking at Greece. I'm looking at Greece's champ cap. Where's the shrine that goes for the ore?
No, sorry, not the champ. Sorry, the champ. Yes, I was talking about the artisans. My bad. Yeah, no, that's annoying, especially because it comes back to the idea of the lumber mill that we talked about, which, you know, whether you put the woodcutter in there or not, whatever. But he could have had this lumber mill down here and already had the woodcutter expand to the iron forest, so we could have done it that way as well. Yeah.
And again, it suggests to me a very late game thing, because why has he not put an urban building either on that lab? He could do this by, it could be urban building on the lavender, urban building on the wooded river tile, and then another urban building in range of the ore, right? That would be 3 there. He built those barracks and garrison that he's built. If he built them the other direction, that he could have that ore right now. So what it suggests to me is that he prioritizes the late game potential of the river lumber mills and the lavender online more than he prioritizes the short-term like boost of culture and getting that ore in his borders.
Yeah, and let's not forget we are playing builders and they're fucking broken because we could just build urban and get that in.
Yeah, we could be urbaning out.
We don't even need the actual buildings. Just build urban and suck the iron into the city.
Yeah, and that could be literally it would be 3 actions, right? I mean, I guess you'd have to clear the woods, the scrub, but you know what I mean? Like it's 3 turns of builder usage.
Yeah. 100%. That could have been done ages ago, but you know.
Yep.
Oh well. I guess that's where we are.
It's all right.
Garrisons, that's nice. Another garrison, that's nice. All right, so we have some garrisons up in Greece. I like that because it's very easy, I think, for players to forget about garrisons and how important they are for order economy. And Greece is certainly one nation that does not want to forget about garrisons because their order economy sucks anyway.
God, neither of them, I guess now we're seeing spears from Greece, which is nice, but neither of them have serfdom yet. So neither of them have navigation yet, rather.
That's wild.
And he chose spears over that, which, there's a time for that. And maybe that was now. I was just complaining about the military tech stuff, but that one was probably one where I'm not actively engaged with my opponent. There's still quite a lot of tiles in between us, and I'm short on orders. I'd probably be looking at navigation quite greedily, I think. But
yes,
we don't have it.
We're going phalanx in Greece. Personally, I really would be feeling early combo in his situation just because I have this development lead. So just imagine in the next 10, 15 turns, I'm starting to build ranges everywhere too. And I'm not even talking about the archers in my mind. I'm talking about the output of having my full barracks range, and then once I get my 7 laws, right? Because we have such good culture in Greece already. You get that full barracks range stronghold set up going, and that's going to be order economy. That's going to be training output. It's going to be science if you want to build the officers. So I think if I were Greece in their current situation, I would just be grabbing compo right now.
And how much training is a poet worth when you have 2 barracks and 2 ranges multiplying his training output?
A poet?
Yeah.
Poets aren't worth training at all.
Oh, so that champion seed's not going to benefit from the poet with those ranges?
Poets, no.
Huh.
Poets are science and culture.
Yeah, I know, man. He built the poet in Thebes. All those multipliers are going to be multiplying 0 because he didn't build any bloody base training rate. So he's got a poet in there instead of the ore, which could have been an upgraded ore with base 4 with the multiplier of 100%. It's going to be 2 ranges, 2 barracks is 80 on top of the 50 from champion seed. It's going to be 130% additional, like plus 130% as a multiplier, so 230% base, and he's missing 4 that he could be having in that. It's just so much that poet is.
Well, so I think the only saving grace here, I don't think you needed the poet. I think you could get away with just the Odeon and the theater here. But I guess the only saving grace there is that this city, your champ seat, is definitely getting strong culture at the time where hopefully, it's 24 turns from now. Hopefully you're getting close to 7 laws by then. Again, I'm not necessarily sure that will happen. We need navigation. We need rhetoric, sovereignty. That would be 5. Monasticism 6, and then maybe architecture, citizenship for 7. Yeah. So if we can do all that in like 25 turns, then we have a champ seat ready to build a citadel in it.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't really know how good the Greek UU is these days. I really have not seen it used a lot.
Oh, I love it.
Feels somehow even more like not. I was gonna say generic, but that's not the right word because it's not generic. It's I often feel like Rome's unique unit is just kind of like it's for me. It does like everything. It's an infantry unit that I use pretty much everywhere except horses, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not super powerful anywhere particularly, but it's just decent. It's just a decent unit all around for my feeling that. But I don't really know the Greek one as well. And the matchup between like a anti-horse unique unit that has some adjacency bonuses, how does that fare versus the massed range that we're likely to see out of Kush?
The thing about the Greek unit is that they definitely struggle with range, I think, because I think everything kind of struggles with range in a way, right? Because, archers with 3 range, I mean, they can focus fire anything. It's just really difficult to deal with a sea of ranged units. That said, let's think about the bonus here for Kush. Bonus is when they have plus 20% attack when they're all lined up next to each other, right? So phalanx the hoplites and whatnot are going to be plus 20 strength when all lined up. So technically, you're canceling your Kushite bonus out right there, right out of the gate.
Yeah, I suppose. Maybe that's the way to look at it. Yeah,
and I
guess
think
I don't know if that's a. I don't know how to use that unit. I guess is what I'm saying. The Greek one. I don't use it enough to really know where it shines in the same way that I might know where like the Roman unit shines.
My concept.
Soren's asking about. Sorry to interrupt, but just to cover this real quick because we got some chat interaction here. It'd be nice to hit on that. Soren's asking about the equivalent to the champion seat on the Kush side. Maybe you could zoom the camera over and have a look at that.
I did. Yeah, I was doing that while you're talking, and this is what we're looking at. Pretty much just some farms. The iron's coming up now. A quarry. Really not a lot of development because we already built some disciples here. We're building another one. I think we also built a settler, obviously an extra worker. In fact, we have an off-type worker up here from hunters building a quarry. Not really sure how I feel about that. I don't feel like that's necessary because this is and you know what? I'm going to ignore all these mountains or actually, no. In fact, this is the perfect example. This is the perfect example because we can't even access these. We're up here. We send a worker all the way up here to build a quarry adjacent to these mountains. And I hate this. You have arid flatland right here.
Yeah.
Just do it. Because look at even just this movement right here. Look at all the orders you spent just to build a quarry there from an off-type worker. Just build 3.
And not to mention, there's a bunch of other things going on there. It's, not only is it the orders, but it's also the time it takes, right? Yeah. Flat versus hills. Yeah. And then it's the adjacency yields. You get so much of that from the adjacency yields. You can just build a pocket of quarries down here on this flat area.
Exactly. And I think people are like allergic to building flat quarries. And I feel they're
suckered in by the adjacency bonuses, right? That's the yield bonuses.
And I swear to God, I must go on this rant in every single tournament match at least once. So I'm like, dude, just build the damn things on flat arid. It's fine. It's fine. You don't need to go all the way up.
Yeah, Fluffy's really good about that. When I watch his games, of just like there'll be like mines showing up in just random spots because it's like convenient to put a mine there. Yeah, and it's a good thought process there, especially when the one that always gets me is the hill versus flat comparison because it's literally an extra turn to build that hill one. So a lot of times it's just like drop it on the flat. It's not quite as much yield, but the time it takes to get it going, it's worth it.
And it's also order economy, right? Like if you're like seriously, where was this worker before it came up here? Did it come all the way from this? I know.
And is it going to live forever on that spot now? Because it's got to go back again too. So it's double the cost.
So if we just assume that maybe just for the sake of the argument, we built this Odeon with it or whatever, we were somewhere in the capital. We spent 3 or 4 orders to get up here. We built the thing, fine, whatever, and then we're going to spend another 3 or 4 orders to get back. That's the only other thing. That's the other reason why it's useful to just build things in fields or sprawl, because you're saving orders by doing that. If you just build a flatland quarry and then just move 1 tile to the left and build another flatland quarry, you save yourself a shitload of orders.
And when you're a builder, those orders are inevitably going to be used on another worker, getting another improvement up at the same time.
100%, yes.
Couple other things to point out here that are fairly interesting to me. Judaism hasn't gone yet.
Nope.
Judaism, I don't that's kind of weird. If one of the religions are extremely powerful, in my opinion. for a number of different reasons and a number of different stages of the game. But one of the things that I would be very worried about if I were Greece is my opponent got Zoro, did it very early, put a lot of resources into it. Their city count was super low during that, and we had met, so I knew their city count was low. So they've gone for Zoro early. What are they likely to do? Well, I'm going to be looking at my champion seat and going, there are 3 groves sitting around each other in a nice pattern where a monastery could boost their yields from all of them, and my opponent has access to a religion that he can build monasteries with.
Yep.
You know, he doesn't. I would be concerned about the science boost my opponent would be potentially picking up from investing in land consolidation with his religion. So if I were Greece, I would want to be thinking about how am I going to counter that science? And either I'm going to be getting my own religion, so I don't have, my opponent doesn't have that advantage while I don't for all of the game, or I'm going to be looking for another science investment as soon as I can, like something like architecture or something similar, right?
I was actually just
want to
ask
be
that.
super behind on that.
I was going to ask that. I'm curious your thought. What do you think if you are Greece, right? Because we still have to get husbandry, right? So if you are Greece and we have this,
Hold on a minute. I'm gonna get in his head real quick. I'm gonna answer the question. I'm gonna need another poet.
Oh, we poetic?
Yeah, it's gonna be a poet in every city. Sorry, where were you going?
Sorry, no. My question was, if you're Greece and we have this unique access, this unique opening point to architecture, and you have the situation that you described, your opponent got Zoroastrianism, so you're thinking, oh shit, I'm worried about these groves, I'm worried about that monastery, and do you think instead of going for Judaism, maybe a deeper dive, taking the extra turns to grab architecture was worth it for that science and go
I do.
doctors?
I think. Remember, again, Greece started with investing heavily in culture and an artisan capital. Like the payoff from engineering is also good, right? That's going to be 25% off, including civics for all of his wonders, right?
Yeah.
So, and he's suggested that he wants to build wonders. And actually, we just saw a wonder come down, by the way. We saw Necropolis come down. Maybe a denial here because he doesn't have a religion, right?
No, but it's still 2 culture per specialist in the city. So that's going to be another 8 culture on top of it.
I'm thinking of a different one for this. Yep. Yeah, it is a culture thing. Yep.
Yeah. So this is honestly one in terms of culture rushing, the 2 wonders I think I look at the most are Mausoleum and the Necropolis. Those are the 2 that I think are the most valuable for culture rushing. And then you have other niche situations like Lighthouse, if you're like, sitting on 3 pearls or whatever. And actually, this is less niche, but also the Jebel Barkal is a good culture rusher as well.
Oh, it's so much better than that. The Jebel Barkal is terrifying.
No, the Jebel Barkal is phenomenal.
So I'm just saying, not discounting the culture part of it. I'm saying that not only is it culture, it's those orders as well. Those orders are so nice.
It's a phenomenal wonder, but I think when people are trying to maximize it for its, order temple spam, you can forget about the fact that the quicker that it's built in your target city, if you're really worried about losing that legendary race, the quicker it's built in your target city, the quicker you get a temple, which is like another 4 or whatever culture. How much?
Yeah.
Culture it is?
Temples are really good too from the wonder because not having to tech that tech and then build them is
so phenomenal.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And that means you can do things like you can take like the tenets that upgrade temples without ever having to have that tech, and it's just such a big boost.
It's super powerful.
To follow up on your question about that, like both of these capitals have access, not a lot of access to it, but they have 2 tiles at least of access to fresh water, right? Like that river on the back of the map coming from that mountain means both of these capitals could be running baths, right? So as Greece with a culture start with access to architecture right there, and Fluffy having demonstrated quite convincingly to me in one of my games with him recently how powerful the science boost off doctors is, I'd be very tempted as Greece to have picked up architecture.
I think it's honestly a strong play. In the multiplayer meta, I think it can be a little risky, but I think getting a quick early architecture, if you can spring for it, for Greece in particular, A, because they're positioned for it, and B, their whole kit is almost oriented around it when you think about it, because they get easier culture levels. So I think it's a strong play. And the Doctor is one of the more powerful specialists in the game. One thing, actually, speaking of rivers, Greece's entire empire is not connected. And I think that's a bummer. So kudos to Sabertooth for actually taking that time to really only just build a couple of roads and get that connected status.
And
And
you should show them. Use the cool little filters, because if you're a player who doesn't know this, there's filters that will show you how easy it is sometimes to connect your empire and how much of an impact it's going to be with just not hovering them, just activating them temporarily to be like, oh, it's only 2 roads and I can get 15 cities online or something ridiculous.
For me, the hotkey is B for the connected status, and so if you're unfamiliar with it, I agree. Yeah, just press B every now and again, and this is going to give you this layout that I'm looking at that tells us that all of the cities for Greece aren't connected, and then if we hop over to Kush, right, we're going to press that button again, and you'll see all the nice green all down this river here.
Looks like Kush did get there. They have no failed ambitions. They have a legacy one completed for 5, which I assume is their peace one. But it does look like they probably got that Barb event, because there's a big, I guess I'm not 100% sure, but there's a big incursion of Numidians coming up right now who have been converted to barbarians, right? Is this the invasion? Did the tribal invasion event swap them to barbs or leave them as tribes?
Leave them as tribes.
Oh, okay. But he did manage that peace ambition, because there's no failed ambitions, right? You will see that somewhere?
No. He got the ambition. Wait a minute.
So
make peace with the tribe right here. I'm looking at it. Now the thing is what he could have still gotten that same event, but it's entirely possible he might have opted to not take the tribal invasion.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
I'm not necessarily sure why you would. Although actually,
because he's getting overrun with barbarians right now. If you look at his empire, like he's fighting.
I was gonna say,
yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
His units are just old. They're weaker combat strength units, and as time progresses, the tribes and the barbarians get stronger. And basically, these units are a lot more threatening than the occasional barbarians that wander in at the beginning.
And this is one of the things too that you can run into, as we talked about how it's was an interesting or like nice play, and of course you can go either direction of this, expanding down this river, expanding toward your opponent, securing the center. But on these, this is one of the values of the ultra wide that was discussed, I think, in a different match, is that ultra wides in particular is such a funnel toward your opponent that there's no drawback from just expanding directly towards your opponent, because that's all you can do. But as the aspect ratio widens out, or lengthens rather, going deep towards your opponent like this gives you exposed to this entire southern corridor of raids, such that, like you were saying, even if he did get a tribal invasion from the Numidians, that would be horrible to deal with right now, because his entire the belly of his empire is exposed to these Numidians.
You can tell this is a large map when you see sovereignty go before steel or chariots or spears. So we're going to see onagers on the field before we see anything except warriors and slingers from Kush.
That's funny. We have the opportunity to get a 110 science boost in Kush off an event. That's nice. Or we can grab intelligent. I suspect we'll get the 110 science boost. That's pretty solid there. Nice little boost to help him catch up. And we're going to be hitting strong culture in one turn in Moreau.
Do you think we'll see Museum go down for him since his opponent declined the Science Wonder?
Well, we're in a position to get Museum. So I think, and we have a worker I think Sabertooth has taken this worker, sat on this tile right next to Moreau in preparation for starting the Museum next turn. So
yeah, he has the pin up there. So I think you're right. I think this is how I'd like to see, if you are in a duel with someone where hypothetically you both are rushing for these things, you spending every resource to get a small advantage. You really want to be ready when your window of opportunity arises, right? You want the worker in place, you want the resources secured, you want to be planning for that culture in 5 turns, culture in 2 turns. You don't want it to be like 6 turns after you get there, you finally get around to moving a worker over there to start this thing. It's competitive. These things go. If you don't take it, somebody else will.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I think that's gonna be what we'll see here long term for IceMatrix. I think that's going to be his weakness. I think Sabertooth, despite maybe whatever momentum he has lacked thus far, I think his decisions are very specific. He's he's getting set up for a wonder right now, whereas IceMatrix, he hit that mark, he nailed it even, right? We could say he nailed it, but he's not. I don't think he either didn't have the game plan of like literally grab Museum instantly, or it's just not coming to him, in the game as like he's in that spot. He's kind of.
Aaron's right though. He's a couple civics short. If he ran 1 or 2 councils right now, he would have it next turn. As it is, he's going to miss it by a turn. Now he's not going to lose it because his opponent isn't actually in a position to take it, but he could lose it. Yeah.
So I'm glad you point that out because, yeah, and Fluffy just pointed it out as well in chat. So for those of you watching looking for tips, this is a great example. Currently, we have a worker in the spot. We have the pin. We know we want to be there. We have our wonder our shrine set up for the order. We're everything we want. We have our culture coming on next turn. But, oh, shit, we're a little civics short. One way you can solve that, it just became our turn now. If we went into the capital right there and we just canceled this city once, look at this. We would have gotten an extra 17 civics from this. We would have had the culture we need. So don't hesitate to micromanage your queues. Toss in a council real quick and get the civics you need. And this goes for wonders. This goes for law tempo. This goes for anything that you're doing with civics. If you're low, kind of do that math and just run the council. Council's a very valuable project.
It essentially is same with training, although I use it less for that, but sometimes it matters.
Yeah.
Sometimes it matters for that too.
Yeah. Oh, well, because that's another thing too. You were talking about how like getting set up, like even land consolidation. That's another thing. Sometimes when I have land consolidation coming out in 1 or 2 turns, I get all my workers across my entire empire, whatever they're doing. As soon as they finish a mine, a barracks, whatever, I start migrating them to the nearest grove, planning to do it on the turn that I get land consolidation. And I'll do that type of stuff. That's why I think council can become handy, because if I'm looking like serfdom, for example, neither of our players have serfdom right now. If I'm 2 or 3 turns away from serfdom and I need an extra 100 civics, I have no issue counseling my entire empire just if I know that it's going to get me that law on that turn.
Yeah, there's certainly things that are worth that kind of a commitment for. I agree 100%. A couple things to look out for here. That scout is going to be revealed in 3 turns if it doesn't move. They have that nice new notification that shows 3 years there, but it's not notification, I guess icon there, but it's still easy to forget about them.
Yeah,
so that may be dying the Kush scout in there.
And next I think patch, you're right. That will hit the actual turn notifications that you get in those.
Yeah, it's good. So it's good to get that even more visible. Yep.
Yeah.
Although it is hard enough to kill scouts. On the one hand, I'm glad for my scouts, and on the other hand, I'm annoyed that my opponent's scouts will be alive a little bit longer a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice that there's some counterplay now, but I think just before you came back, they went a little too far with it, and they made scouts invisible pretty much permanently for the entire game. And so this is a compromise that they reached with this little reveal thing happening, and I think it's a nice one.
Yeah, sight is strong, and the game seems designed to have a lot of sight of your opponents, but sometimes it's just wild. Like the late game that you get full sight on everything kind of deal.
Pretty much,
it's a lot.
That's why I think Portcullis is such an interesting tech, because it's not like on its own, it's not like a high priority because of where it is, right? Like I feel like not a lot of people are rushing towards.
It's been nerfed a lot though. It used to be really good. There used to be the bonus from Spy Masters was just so high.
And honestly, I think sometimes these days I wonder if maybe that could get a slight tune back up too, because I think with land consolidation, with hydraulics and other things, I wonder if maybe having
it's really tough for me to guess on that, because I hear what you're saying, because there's so many other sources of strong science essentially, like how big of a deal would it be for Portcullis, and I don't know. And I think this is one of the things that this will be revealed as you do more of these tournament kind of style things, right? Because sooner or later you'll see some optimization from all of these. You'll see, especially if they get streamed and commentated on and then watched, and God alone knows how many people will be doing that, but presumably players playing in future tournaments will be interested in how the winners of the last tournaments did it. They're going to be looking to see those types of things duplicated. The really good strategy, especially if there wasn't a commonly known good strategy, is going to be something that players are going to pay attention to.
Right. And that's one thing for myself that I worry about in terms of like entrenchment of metas, because again, once you phrase anything in the form of like a competition, right, what's going to happen is players are going to see one player perform really well with a strategy, and then everyone else, not wanting to fail on their match, is going to do the same thing, and it can sometimes inform this kind of sentiment of like, oh, this one thing is really strong and it's the best version of something, when it's like, oh, again, you have players not really exploring alternatives. So it is interesting to see whenever a different player tries something outside of the established kind of sense of what currently works, and then they make it work. I think that's
Can I just call it attention to something? Sorry, not to derail that, but something timely, which is as Buffy just pointed out. There's a judge leader in Greece right now, which is
nice.
cool, and it's a really nice stats. But
Oh, but
she's
they're
also
doomed.
ill and doomed. Like, where did this come from?
Yeah,
Like a one turn. Like, how long has she been in there? Not long. It's
not
only been a
long.
couple turns, one way or
Let's
the
take a
other.
peek. Let's take a peek. Let's take a peek. Yeah, turned 40. We had a queen shift, so she's been on the throne for 2 years, which is a bummer because a judge is exactly what you want. So she's doomed now. I'd run around and upgrade any. Well, that's the other thing. Yeah,
Garrisons and Odeons is what he needs to be upgrading.
We can't even in the ones that the places where I want to do it. But yeah, garrisons we can upgrade. Oh no, we don't have the laws. Oh yeah, that's a bummer, man. I feel bad about that. You really don't want to have your judge die. Oh, and she's 7 wisdom. This is our perfectly groomed heir.
Yeah, she's a sick character.
Take a look at the
that
events.
Number's stats.
Blinded by the light.
I think it was it was an insane leader. Could it be related to that somehow, like the previous leader?
Possibly, but I'm looking at the events now. I don't know them all by name, but I know that I have kind of an encyclopedia. Blinded by the light doesn't ring a bell. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that comes to mind. That is horrific. 21-year-old, ill and doomed. Well, what do we have for an heir?
Yeah.
We have an eloquent scholar, so that's not the worst.
True. True.
Not the worst. So as far as pivots go, there could be worse.
I think I see that same. Maybe you saying it has biased me towards it, but I'm seeing a bit of what you described earlier. I think Greece's start was overall a stronger start, and just because of how quickly he got his improvements going, how many cities he got out, etc. But as you said, Sabertooth was very focused on what he was doing. It was a slow start with the religion plus pyramids, but it was a focused start.
Yeah.
And I feel like IceMatrix has kind of kept on that path of kind of just doing a generic game, not really going for a single strategy here, not really pushing for a specific unit or a specific tech, just kind of wandering around the tech tree, taking kind of what's good next, as opposed to what's good 3 techs from now. And we're starting to see that, right? We don't see a coherent science plan. It's just kind of specialists across the board. There's no land consolidation going on. There's no baths going on. There's no religion, science. There's nothing. There's none of these. All those strategies. There's no portcullis. All these things we were just talking about for ways in this game to really ratchet up your science and push for these more powerful later techs aren't happening. This is just kind of, he's getting every tech along the way kind of deal in an almost equal measure. And we've seen the opposite on the other side of the map, right? We're seeing Saber, not he's chosen a tech. It's a couple techs away, that being ballistas or whatever it is. I've forgotten the tech name right now. Let me just look real quick. Hydraulics, right?
Yeah.
Going for hydraulics, moving along that line. He's moving towards his opponent with his expansions. He had a slower start, but he's chosen he's cherry picked the science wonder at strong. He's pretty much set up for that. Missed it by a turn, but basically had his workers in place, the resources ready to go. This is, again, as you were talking about, that kind of coherent game plan. Whether or not it's the best plan or it's always going to be better, it's not the point. The point is he has something he's moving towards and is actively doing it, as opposed to that kind of more passive pattern going on the other side.
And in fact, it feels important to point out at this juncture that Greece, again, arguably of all the nations, potentially the most efficient at culture rushing, is looking at a legendary city in 60 turns. Whereas if we hop on over to Kush in Moreau now, we are looking at a legendary city in 50. So the Kushites have officially surpassed Greece in terms of culture momentum. So what started with a strong burst, a strong lead, has been lost.
And if there's one nation in the game that you do not want to give Heliopolis to,
oh God, no. Yeah. Yeah,
excuse me.
No, not the Kushites, especially because for those of you who don't know, the Kushite, again, it's the same thing with mythology. The Kushite shrine bonus will also apply to the orders from the Heliopolis. So it's just disgusting. It's so disgusting. Yeah. All right. So we have some raids from the south here coming up that the Kushites were dealing with for quite a while, and they're still working on that. Also going to have to clear out this barb camp at some point. And we're now stacking the museum. So the bright side is while Greece should have secured this, they had every reason, they had every capability of securing this wonder, and they should have. The nice thing is with it going to Kush here, that's not equalizing the science much, because we still have a 66 science per turn lead here over Kush is 33. We have a couple hundred science in the tech tree overall for Greece. So I mean, this goes back to what I was saying, or what we talked about earlier, where these micro decisions, these optimized decisions between IceMatrix and Sabertooth might matter long term, because not only are we now on track to beat our opponent to legendary, if it comes to that, every decision we make to bridge that science gap will probably lead to us overtaking our opponent there as well. Also, I haven't checked the power graph in a while. Love this, though. I have to say, regardless of what either player is doing in terms of overall long-term decision-making, I really do appreciate, look at this, exactly, turn 43, exactly 360 power by both players. They are making sure they're not disrespecting each other. They're not leaving themselves open for an early invasion. No one's falling behind here. They're just consistent rising between both players. And I think this level of development, even if we're maybe not as high as we quote unquote should be at this stage or whatever, the most important thing is that you're keeping pace with your opponent, right? You don't want to be on turn 41 have 120 power when your opponent has 360, or you don't want to have 360 power if your opponent has 900, right? Regardless what the power graph is, you want to be running similar and even with your opponent. So I think it's really neat to see both players keeping pace with each other militarily, because that's important when it comes down to long-term fighting, because eventually these armies will meet, they will come to blows, and you don't want that power graph. You don't
have to disagree with you.
Forming.
I'm going to really have to disagree with you. I never want my power graph to be equal to my opponent's. I want my power graph to be way ahead of my opponent.
Well, naturally, yeah, naturally.
So I don't know. I feel like, I think you're absolutely correct in why this is occurring. I think both players are keeping an eye, making sure that they're not looking at their opponent and seeing stronger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think either of them, based on that, are looking to actually go offensive yet either.
No,
because I don't think this power graph has spiked very much, and I don't think either of them have put very many resources into military at the moment.
Yeah, and if any of them have watched any of the tournament games, they should both be aware that, we're getting close to the point in the game where power spikes can happen. You can get 7 laws by this state, in the next few turns. You can get, it's entirely possible to hit something like Bodkin Arrow inside of 60, 70 turns, things like that. So that's the other reason why I think it is important to make sure that you're building up, or make sure you're targeting something, is because you don't want to be in a situation where your opponent mass upgrades to longbows and you're nowhere near an 8 strength unit. That's just super shitty. Unless you have, I guess, a wall of onagers to protect you. That's always helpful. Because it's really difficult to attack into onagers if you don't have your own onagers or don't have a strong routing component. Let's see if we've fixed our connected status issue in Greece yet. No, we have not. What are we building?
We're building cities,
barracks. We're building hamlets. And back over to Kush.
Well, he did get, it's unfortunate he's only going to get it as a legacy ambition, but he did probably get the best ambition he could get as Greece.
What's that?
Being, especially for his unique playstyle, we have the Control 3 Amphitheater.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep, not a bad one.
This is one of the things about stacking ambitions that's so tricky, though, because look at this Control 100 Urban Tiles one. The only reason why that's here right now is because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 ambitions that are legacies. So this is a very high ambition that gets delivered to the player because you're stacking too many ambitions at once. I really can't stress enough to players that I feel like you might disagree. I'd be curious your thoughts on this, because you're an experienced player. I think it's important to say no to ambitions often.
I think you need to be strategic about it. I think I'm less on the idea that you want to say no to them as much as you want to say yes to the ones you can do and do easily, and you want to say no to the ones that don't fit into your game plan. Because The reward is great. 10 legitimacy is a big reward, and it's really quite useful to have that. And they often come as part of a package deal where you get some other benefit for having accepted the ambition in the first case. But you don't want to be in exactly that scenario where you're forced in. Most of the later ones come with that, like that flip side, right? Like if you don't accept it, you have the same problem. You have the opposite, right? You get the penalty for not accepting it. So yeah, I agree with you that you don't want to overdo it, but you do want to pay attention to them because they're just another resource to manage.
Yeah.
Another source of orders, which is nice.
Yeah. And then it's like, if it's 10 legitimacy, but if it goes to legacy, it's 5. And then if you, God forbid, you fail it, then it's -5. So basically, from going to an ambition that you succeed to a failed legacy is a 15-point legitimacy swing. You could have had 10, but now you have -5.
Yeah, but sometimes these things are. I like, for example, there's one that piece one we talked about earlier that generally comes from meeting a tribe, and your options are basically like upfront, like 1 wisdom on your ruler. If you get that at 15, or not 15, at 20 rather, I was thinking turn 15. Your character is like 20 years old or 25 years old. That's a long time to work at that ambition.
Yeah. No, I'll take that one.
Even if you fail that, like that's immediate science now for possibly a little bit of lost legitimacy way later. So there's that kind of balancing going on there. So
I think that's the way to look at it. I think it's what are you getting, or what is the cost? So for example, what's another one I can think of is there is an ambition that asks you to adopt manner. That can usually, I don't know that it's enabled in multiplayer, but I think it's a single player one, but I'm going to use it as an example anyway. And it can fire pretty early on in the game where it's like, there's no way you're going to get manner in the time that it comes. And then the opposite choice, right? By saying no, you get something like 120 discontent in the city or something like that, or like 80 discontent in the city. So that's an example of the opposite case where it's like, I would rather just take the discontent than accept an ambition I know I'm going to fail.
Yeah, I guess it depends for me. Discontent is differently bad depending on a number of different factors, right? Like discontent in the family you're struggling with the problem, but discontent in the science city is way worse than discontent in the military city, that kind of thought process. So
naturally.
It's always going to depend. But that's the fun of the game, right? That there's a lot of decisions that are not a clear-cut yes or a no. It's a depends. And the whole point of the player in that, the whole fun of the game and where the skill expression comes out is in evaluating the actual impact of that on your empire. Is this good for me, or is this bad for me? How good is it for me? How much resources should I devote to it? That kind of thing. Yeah.
So Greece is now at 28 culture per turn in their capital. So they basically haven't moved the needle on their culture in quite some time. I think they've been at about 23 to 24 cultures since around something as silly as early as turn 20-ish. They've had a strong culture expression in their capital right around 20, and they haven't hit 30 yet. Moreau is now looking at 41 culture per turn, and they're finishing the museum. They haven't even finished the museum yet. So 3 turns will finish the museum. So this...
And sadly, there's the 2 things I want to comment on that. First of all, despite us knocking these poets nonstop, which I think is pretty reasonable to be doing so, and seeing more poets coming out again, Greece's science is quite good because of all these specialists.
Yes.
However, Greece's civics are awful. He has 1 law assigned, 2 more available, one of which is slavery at this point in the game with 7 or 8 cities, which is a huge resource boost. Yeah. He needs to get his law count up anyways for a variety of reasons, not the least of his unique units. And he can't contest wonders right now, even if he has the culture, because he doesn't have the civics to build them at all. Yeah. And I think this is not intentional exactly, but I think this is a byproduct of his playstyle with the heavy investment in projects and specialists everywhere.
Yeah. I think definitely, because don't forget that we had 30 players sign up for this tournament, and I think it's fair to say even experienced players like Aaron, right? Experienced players who have gone far. Aaron, Aro, Klaus Koala, all players who are doing well. It is important to note that the majority, I think it's fair to say the majority of players who participating in this tournament currently are playing their first multiplayer games. So the flip side of that expression, where you have some player coming out of the woodworks with surprising tactics or strategy or strength, and sending players, like myself or Fluffy, players who people were expecting to go far and expect to do well, into the lower bracket. The flip side of that is that a good number of these players are going to have very obviously single player play styles, right? Because they've never played a human before. So I think that's what we see when we see IceMatrix
So what we need
play.
to say, what you're saying is we need to see some of the AI behave like Aura. We need to see the AI rush you with a tactician, killing
I
your
think
first
the
unit on
AI
a
is
bar
great.
plant. And then I want to read the Steam reviews.
Yeah, I think the AI is great, but I mean, I'm a bit of a masochist, and I give Alex shit about once a month about something that I think the AI did wrong or that I'd like to see change. But I'm one of the few people who think that the AI isn't good enough in this game. And again, I definitely
I've had multiple difficulties level added to this game for my complaints about the AI not being hard enough.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I agree.
Yeah.
I like
and don't get me
the
wrong,
thing is-
I still think hands down, for those of you watching, don't get me wrong, I think hands down that this game has arguably the best AI of any 4X out there. Like,
But I
there's
think
no
you and I come at it
competition.
the same way there, which is we would like the AI to be challenging.
Yeah,
like,
but,
that makes the game
there are certain
fun.
things where it's like, if you play enough, and Jesus Christ, have I played enough, you start to see the cracks, unfortunately.
Sure.
But yeah, no. So
not-
yeah,
not
I think
AI
that's what
here,
I
but,
think that's what we see here. It's like IceMatrix is playing fine. He's playing very well, but I think ultimately what it comes down to is currently he's playing a single player game.
Yes, I think that's a good way of putting it.
It's a multiplayer duel, and so
because I would argue he's not playing fine, but I would argue he's not playing fine in the context of what he's doing, which is trying to beat Saber over here, right? Yeah. So
but
to
I mean, like,
exactly
he
your
has
point.
decent science. His economy is fantastic right now. His economy is fantastic. He has decent science in relation to his opponent. His military score is fine. Like, so, like, there's a lot of things that are going right in IceMatrix's Empire. He could get his connection leveled up. He could, worry about his civics income. He could get his laws online, things like that. I agree with you. He's not making the best decisions, but I think more or less his Empire is fine. But again, I don't think he's playing in the context that this game is taking place, which is a multiplayer game.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see if we maybe we'll see like mass 8 strength you use out of all of his cities.
Oh, that would be awesome.
It would be.
That would be awesome.
See like a culture payoff. It'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to hear that all of these culture investments he's made have a synergetic plan that comes together with him.
It would be so great.
But I'm just not expecting that.
It would be so great, and more than anything, and again, full respect to IceMatrix, regardless how it goes, I'm looking forward to seeing IceMatrix in a fight, because we really, really haven't seen much of that. There was one, I think, in his 120, 130 turn game against Kiriyama, believe it or not, I only think they skirmished like once. I don't think they actually had a serious battle. And that's like a lot of game time without fighting an actual fight. Yeah, no, I'll be curious to see what decisions he makes in terms of setting up his, kind of end game army composition when it comes online, if it's like ready. If it's not, hopefully it doesn't take 120 turns to get a good army. And then, yeah, how he uses it, how he's able to fight back or defend himself or invade Sabertooth.
Speaking of invading Sabertooth, that is a lot of barbarians, rebels. What are these? There's a lot of units in his. These are raiders. Looks like they're not at least rebels. They're barbarians and raiders.
Kind of going back to it, I think this is the downfall of going so deep right here. And again, this is the type of thing that you don't get on an ultra wide, because the perspective is so squished that it's very easy to just kind of come down here, clear something, and then go.
You keep saying ultra wide here. You mean the opposite, right? You mean square?
No,
this is what you don't get on a square, right? No. Oh, I see.
No, because
you think it's basically wide. This is a byproduct of wide, but not ultra wide, and presumably not square from that same reason.
No, square can be similar as well. Square, you run into a similar issue as square. You can go like out towards the center and you have the same type of thing. But actually, I think it's ultra wide that has less of the issue of giving you this kind of exposed southern flank here to all of these Numidians. Because if we think about this perspective of the map, this chunk of map wouldn't even be here if it was ultra wide.
Sure.
These sites wouldn't even be here.
I suppose when you said that initially, I was thinking of dual square.
Yeah,
There's not enough room for that to happen at all.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying here. You're saying because he's basically tunneled out, and he has a corridor up top and a corridor, a horizontal band above him and a horizontal band below him that is just unconquered tribe that just raids him nonstop.
Exactly. And that could cause a lot of issue long term because it slows down your development, right? It's an order sink. as opposed to if we look over
Also
at,
a discontent boost, right? Because every time they hit those city centers is permanent discontent,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and now if we, on the other hand, if we look over to IceMatrix, he's fully expanded across all of his territories, not taken the center of the map yet, and so his only real raid target at this situation is the Thracians up in the north and one Vandal site down south. He has a significantly lighter, easier raid profile than his opponent does. So I'll be curious to see how that affects the game, to be honest.
Yeah, I will do expect that at some point Saber will turn around and back settle, or at least back clear these camps.
Yes.
You know, a lot of these warriors are going to have almost no purpose in the mid game here, especially with his tech path, where they're you know, he's going to have ballista by the time he also has spears, right?
Yes.
So he's not going to be building a lot of warriors, so he could just be planting some of these warriors on those sites, prevent their respawn, and just leave them until he's ready for them.
But there's
if he can push out.
There's a trick with that. There's an issue with that. Because at this point, we have the 2 Thracian sites in the north, we have 1 Gaul site on the river, and the Vandals down south. And let's just cut out this southern Gaul section, because neither player currently has that southern Gaul section. So technically speaking, IceMatrix literally has just 2 more city sites to settle before he has an established city border with his opponent. So I think the tricky thing about that is, yes, Sabertooth has the ability to clear all of this stuff. However, if he still has to clear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 city sites while his opponent starts amassing an army on his border, that could be a serious problem.
Yep, I definitely agree. You know what else I just realized? This is coastal rain basin, but neither of them have access to water. I mean, it's not far for IceMatrix to get those cities expanded to water, but neither of them have bothered. So they're all going to be relying on roads and rivers to get to the front, as opposed to ocean movement. That is going to be a slow reinforcement to the middle. And
Soren pointing out in chat, to just cap off that discussion, that IceMatrix will basically has no idea, although he does have a scout here, but I'm sure he's maybe not strategizing it, that this raid profile for Sabertooth makes him vulnerable. You know, you can kind of make strategic, aggressive decisions off that. I don't think IceMatrix is in any real position to do that currently, but...
I mean, we just saw, I was just looking at his empire, he now has garrison barracks in his 3 cities that he's been building military out of all game, or when he has built military.
Yeah.
And then also seeing that go up elsewhere. I mean, that's an order boost, and it's you know, long-term training. It's not necessarily meaning he's planning anything aggressive at the moment.
Yeah.
But it is at least promising in terms of we may see some military units and not just poets be built.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hope so. That'll be nice, because you know, and he's taken in some lessons, IceMatrix. It's like he and I had a conversation after his very first game against Cliff, where basically, you know, I kind of levied that criticism against him, where I was like, you know, you're basically playing single player mode, and you have, you know, one opponent on the other side of the map that's playing the game, and that's your win condition, right? So maybe we'll see, you know, after some of this, maybe it'll be like 50, 60 turns of build-up, and then maybe we'll see him, you know, go into military mode and start dealing with his opponent.
He better, because he is, although he has more time than it looks, because although the Kush capital is 36 right now and will get shorter and shorter as more and more culture improvements, including wonders, come up in there before legendary, and it will take a little bit of time to build Helio, but Kush is not really set up for that yet either.
No.
He doesn't have polytheism. He hasn't built all the extra shrines going into this.
No.
He's kind of getting a little overwhelmed with these barbarians right now, and his level of improvements is still not very high. Like, I want to see that one more time. Like, and his science is starting to really lag.
Well, he's asking to see units lost between both players. Kush has lost 1 unit so far.
And Greece 0.
Don't know what it is.
I just look. Yeah. So only 1 unit lost total for all players here.
And see, that's one of the other thing about the Heliopolis play, or the polytheism play, or even just Kush in general. I think you can get so fixated on spamming the shrine complexes, but dude, that is a lot of stone, that is a lot of worker turns, and that is a lot of orders to spend. That's so much build-up. Sometimes I joke, it's like by the time you're finished poly spamming with Kush, the game's already over, dude.
Yeah, but it's not bad incrementally either, right? So if let's say he gets it before he even gets poly, I mean, that's 5 orders, right?
Yeah. No, yeah. No. Heliopolis on its own is fine. I'm just saying, I hope he doesn't get Heliopolis and then tries to spend like another 20 turns building a shrine in every single city, because in that time frame, Greece could just be getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's the other thing
Sure.
that I think I've noticed and been critical of some of these games with maybe potentially less experienced players, is that I don't think players are always aware of the amount of pressure you can put on your opponent. It's like, yes, your opponent got Heliopolis, but if you're attacking them, then they don't have the time to build a shrine in every single city because they need to defend themselves. So it's like, this doesn't mean make bad decisions, but I mean, it's...
I don't disagree, but it's another one of these prep things, right? It's like, you're right. You can't start Heliopolis and build a shrine in every single city for 100 orders, at an empire this wide kind of deal per turn kind of stuff. But you can kind of phase into it with the intent to do that for a long period of time.
Oh, sure.
So you have opted into kind of like, I'm going to prioritize some stone production early. I'm not going to take as many wonders as I might otherwise because I need a stone bank. I'm going to invest in a couple workers with that builder early. I'm going to, blah, 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 all the way through, right?
Yeah.
So again, I like to see, and I like that. I like the long-term payoff of a long-term strategy. It's just that one in particular is going to be hilarious if someone gets like on a map this big, like a potential like 50 order boost or something would be absurd.
Fluffy says, if you aren't shrine spamming as Kush, you are doing it wrong, in my opinion. Well, you would know, my friend.
Is that the official Mohawk position? Kush,
I think
Kush
that's
shrine
the
spam or get out?
Mohawk position.
Uh-oh. Yep, this makes some sense though. They have very good shrines to spam with. I'm glad they don't have clerics. I always want clerics when I play them, but I'm so glad they do not have access to clerics.
No, I think they're a great faction. I love them. I think they're really fun. They have landowners and artisans, so they're already a favorite of mine because those are two of my favorite families. So
I have a hard time with the way the factions are for Kush ever finding artisans or excuse me, ever finding landowners. Like I want to, but it's like I love them. You can't get away from hunters because they're too strong, and so many of the dual maps are played with water that it's really hard to get away from traders too.
Yeah.
So it's almost always competitive for me between artisan and landowner, and I like landowners, but
that's the problem. Trade. There's discussion on the Discord about like the power state of clerics right now, or like a couple months ago when they should whether they should or shouldn't have been nerfed. And honestly, I think the only other family that worth a look is traders, because I think traders is too often in a position. Basically, I don't think any family should ever be in a position where you should think I'm never going to not settle this family. And actually, so I suppose the one other family would also be statesmen, because obviously one order per city is insane. It's huge. How you pass that up? So I kind of like I dislike.
We're gonna keep going down that route. Do you ever skip champions?
Yes, sure. Why not?
You build empires and duels without champions when you have access to them?
Well, that's an interesting question, but I don't know if I would necessarily. But Blage has already won a game as Rome where he went championless Rome, and so I mean it works.
Wow. It works. Interesting, because I liked your metric of if you're ever playing
also
where
there's an exception. Sorry to interrupt you, but there is an exception to that, because most nations don't have access to more than one military family. So if we're going to say that, okay, every nation needs a military family, fine. But then take a look at Rome by what you just said. We're not skipping champions because it's champions in their military family. All right, we established that. But then also we're never going to skip statesmen because it's statesmen and they give an order. That doesn't seem correct either. Because now
that's funny. I skip statesmen all the time. Maybe I have to reevaluate that play. I actually struggle to
that's
find
not me saying that. I skip statesmen all the time too. I just I've even heard tons of experienced players be like, "Oh, never skip statesmen." And my thinking is, you got me there with the champions call out. Fine, you're 100% right. But if we step away from the military family analysis for a second, I just don't think there should be any family in the game that it's an automatic pick. That was my issue with clerics previously, was the idea that it's like everyone picks clerics because it's just such an amazing family. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, I agree with the mentality. All of the families should have scenarios where they are the ones you want to pick, such that you never are going to ignore any family all the time. I agree with that 100%.
We have an interesting development here.
What's that?
The necropolis has finished in the artisan seat in Pella, And we are now 30 turns away from Legendary to Kush's 35. So the race is on. This is awesome. Of course, the museum has not finished yet in the Kush capital. Neither has this Elder Poet. So we're going to have to keep ping-ponging back and forth, I suspect, between these two cities to keep an eye on which nation will actually win this race.
How do you feel about monasticism on Greece without
Love it.
Religion?
Love it. I do
Love it.
Polytheism, poly-Greece, pagan poly-Greece is something I do all the time, personally. Again, I'm not necessarily... You got to keep in mind that the majority of my perspective and experience, I think it's fair to say, is stemming from single player. I think there's a lot of cross-pollination and transfer knowledge, more than people expect, because I think when I first started playing multiplayer, I thought I was going to get wrecked, and I went on something like a 7 or 8 game winning streak once I first started multiplayer. Like, I beat everybody I played multiple times. And that's not a brag, that's just to demonstrate that I think a strong foundation of single player knowledge can inform multiplayer tactics. But
sure, if you understand the game well, you know how to maximize well.
Exactly. So I can't necessarily say if Poly-Greece is like, an uber multiplayer strategy, but personally, yeah, I love Poly-Greece. They get civic shrines, they get science shrines that you can spam in every city, and that's awesome. They don't have a military shrine, which, okay, unfortunate, but an extra one science and 2 civics in every single city is awesome.
I really like to see Saber make sure he doesn't lose this ambition. He is 6 years away, and he has 5 urban improvements away. He's got a builder. He needs to hit this.
Well, let's take a count here. We have 1.
None of his.
2.
Besides the 2 he just put down this turn, none of his guys are building urbans.
Shit. All right. Well, he's got 3 more to go then.
Yep. I think this is, as you've been pointing out repeatedly, as to why. I think this is him being overwhelmed with the number of orders he's spending to fight off tribes. Yeah,
it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It really is. And it's like, if you look at these camps down south here, it's like they're not getting any lighter. Like, they're pretty much going to be... These 2 Numidian camps are going to be ready to raid any minute now. Yeah, in fact, actually, this unit right here is paused unit time, so that's ready to raid, and this one's 7 turns away.
Yep.
It's crazy.
But we do have 4 laws in Kush. We saw some workers out in the forests chopping, I assume, for lumber in the middle there. It will help remove those tiles, but also get him some resources to maybe make some of his UUs. He does need a better unit because his efficiency at clearing these tribes is not good right now. And it's not like the tribes run out of raiders, you know?
And with the finishing of the construction on the museum is now giving 11 science. Last time I checked that, it was about 7. And that actually equalizes the science between both nations. We have 67 science in Kush compared to 66 in Greece. And if we look here, okay, now we're 29 turns away from strong in Moreau. And if we hop back on to... Oh my god, they're both at 29 turns. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish IceMatrix would follow up on his initial thought, right? Like, he kind of like put that initial investment into culture. He's like, presumably because he wanted to win that culture war, but he hasn't really followed up on it much since then, right? We've seen this repeated poets elsewhere, but he's still got poet slots left in his capital. If you're gonna pick one spot in which to build more and more culture things, like, it's probably the capital, right? It's the one with the most advancement in your empire for culture. So I'd like to see him finish that thought if he's going to do that and continue to compete for these late game wonders. There are so many good ones in this map, and it's going to get there. I mean, both players are going to make it to legendary culture in their capital. Whether or not they get any impact out of these wonders is on them, but Colosseum's in here, Circus Maximus, and Heliopolis. So
yeah, all right, so this is the thing, and this is when it comes back down to that concept of micro decisions that I think will define IceMatrix game, because really, this is we know that Sabertooth is focused, right? So if IceMatrix does beat Sabertooth to legendary, he's going to need to build the Heliopolis immediately. He needs to make that an active decision that he's prepped for in terms of resources, civics, everything else, because if he doesn't build it and call it the 4 or 5 turns that maybe he might beat Sabertooth to legendary, then Sabertooth is 100% going to grab it immediately.
Well, the build order in the city is like nothing I've ever seen before. He's gone up to 2 levels of poets and Odeons in his Odeon and his theater, and now he's starting on a walls. Like what? It's like the force. It's,
Oh,
it's
wait,
the
wait,
second
wait.
city
Can't
back.
criticize it. It's autonomous. It's autonomous.
Oh, it's autonomous. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, has this city been autonomous the entire game and we maybe not noticed? That would explain
It's
so much.
entirely possible. I don't know when that happened.
No, we saw units. Autonomous won't build units, so it won't build warriors. So
Yeah,
that every
so
time we
not-
saw a warrior come out of that, it was him.
So it's been relatively recent, probably the last 10, 20, 15 turns. But yeah, so the walls aren't IceMatrix's fault. I sometimes I do that. I'll yell at people for walls, and then I forget that maybe Zenobia showed up or something.
Yeah, Zenobia is as unspecialized as meandering perhaps as IceMatrix has been in his decisions for sure.
Yeah, that's funny.
Zenobia prioritizes some weird things sometimes. All right. So what do we need to see out of this game from both players? I think Tush has a strategy here, but is struggling a bit on the execution of their overall economy, including order economy with these tribes, right? So they need they either need to spend the time to clear out these locations, which will be valuable late game for more cities and more power, etc. But is it valuable now for just freeing up their orders? So they need to invest in some units to do that. And they have their UU available. So I think seeing a round of UUs from somewhere, even if he has to rush them in some way or, build them painfully out of 4 cities for 8 turns or something, so be it. He needs something to deal with these order problems, these order sinks that are tribes right now. So I want to see that from him. And I want to see some investment in his economy as a whole because his improvement count is really, really sad.
Yeah.
And I want to see from Greece on the flip side. I'll give you a chance to
Go
do both.
Go.
Yeah, perfect. All right. From Greece, I want to see him start thinking about what his game plan is here. Some of this needs to be connecting his cities, that's been pointed out. Not even so much for the growth bonus now, which is kind of whatever at this point. But I think really he needs the ability to move units around, to have a focused kind of ability to project force. And I think he needs to start thinking about the fact that he hasn't taken the middle cities. He's given those up for free. He hasn't taken the tier between him and the middle cities. And although he has a nice economic base right now, he's not really winning that culture war in the capital, even if he doesn't know that exactly. And he's on a finite number of cities to his opponent having literally the rest of the map if he does nothing. So Greece needs to start thinking about, okay, I've had a good SimCity game. I've put up a lot of stuff over here. What am I going to do with what I've created now? So I'd like to see him make that plan.
100%. I think what's great for IceMatrix, though, is the fact that, I really think it's going to take a solid amount of concerted effort for Sabertooth to kind of get out of this tribal pit that he put himself in, because we have several sites that are just building up with raid potential, and even these sites here that are closer to IceMatrix side of the map, the Gaulish ones. I just noticed this southern Gaul site has raids, and where are they headed? They're headed to Kush. So I mean, IceMatrix probably, I would not be surprised. It looks like IceMatrix is going north to cover the Thracians. I wouldn't be surprised if IceMatrix is able to clear these 2 Thracian sites and this Gaul site, establishing the firm border with Kush before Kush is able to rein in his mess of a barbarian situation on his side of the map.
Yeah, and maybe some more scouting from Greece would help with this, right? If Greece had 3 scouts on the map right now, even just stationary, not moving around, he'd see how pressured Kush was. Just by accident, he'd see that, right? It's because you have a bit more vision. So it'd be really nice to see him proactively engaging with what his opponent is experiencing and also trying to do a little bit more than he is at the moment.
Yeah, and because the other thing is, like, I'm pretty sure nearly every single unit in the Kushite Empire, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2, or it looks like 3 by my quick count, is at half health right now.
Yeah.
That's how much of a beating he's taking. So to say nothing of the orders he's spending, I mean, he's very vulnerable right now, which, again, I'm not necessarily saying it's like, okay, making an aggressive attack. But, yeah, you kind of have free reign to do whatever the fuck you want on your side of the map, because Kush isn't coming to knock on your door anytime soon. He has a problem.
And amusingly, Onager's really not that great versus Barbs, quite honestly. They don't protect the improvements, so the tribes will continue to pillage even as your Onager's shooting at them. They can't easily move around to deal with a tribal unit that's moved out of range. So his next military tech machinery here really doesn't do too much in the immediate term for this number of tribal units in his borders.
Yeah, and
so I do like to see. Go ahead.
I think what I'd like to see here, instead of grabbing machinery on that note, is navigation within the deck. So we could have had navigation, and we could have cycled we could because the reason why I want to do that, I want a quicker. I want to cycle off of this hand, and I want to get myself to phalanx, so I can get a spear or two to murder all these horses.
Yeah, that'd be good. Do you at least see one of his unique units coming out of his capital? Is that the only place I can build them? Probably is. He has culture elsewhere, but probably doesn't have the stronghold.
No. Yeah, it's developing culture in Sharab in the north, but there's no stronghold, and that's the only other developing city. Well, no, his trader seat's about to be developing, but no garrison.
Yeah, I mean that is another thing. I mean, we've already mentioned, and this is probably hammering home the same point for the Kush player right now for Saber, is that his development level, his investment in the city, like tile-based infrastructure, the improvements, etc., it just isn't there. There's no garrisons in his whole empire, and he doesn't have navigation. So how is he like? His orders must be in like this many tribal units without any of the sources of extra orders. He's got to be just choking on it.
Pretty much his entire economy right now, for the most part, is just stone income.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him take this civics card. Yeah, which he is. I'd like to see him just rush out at least one more of those archers. He gets 2 of his unique unit archers down there. That probably clears up the double horse spawn, at least from 2 southern cities there.
Yeah, I suspect we'll see a rush there. No reason not to. I mean, maybe he goes to try and grab another wonder, but I don't really think. What do we got left? Acropolis, Ziggurat, Lighthouse. Yeah, nothing really seems too important to me. Maybe Acropolis.
Yeah, if you're not building improvements, no real point in getting Ziggurat, right?
Nice. That's a fair point. I guess that's a fair point.
Anyway,
that's funny.
Good point for them. They're ending next turn. I think we've done a reasonable recap of what's going on here. Yeah. I thought Greece had a much better start, and I thought Kush had a better 20 turns after the start maybe. And I think right now they're actually fairly close, surprisingly.
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel I would rate them as pretty even right now, but they have very different strengths and very different weaknesses at this current moment.
Yeah, very different take, both of them, on how they built this game. And I'm very curious how. I hadn't really thought about that, the point you made about the corridor with the tribes on either side. Yeah. I will carry that forward, at least in my games, with me to think about that. I wonder if either of them are aware of that. Like, for example, did Greece think when he's expanding like this, I'm not going to have any problems with tribes? And did Kush think I'm going to have problems with tribes, but it's worth going for it? I bet you neither of them are thinking about that. I don't know that. Which is, I think it's a unique take that I hadn't thought about, which is cool.
It's certainly something I think of now, because I think what I started realizing with my duels with, when I started playing with players like Alcaris and Fluffy, who are both, solid players, strong players, is that I would get that kind of initial meta thinking like, oh man, it's, mirror map, one-on-one, you got to secure that center. And what I actually found is, especially against someone like Fluffy, who's a very punishing player, right? I might beat him to the center, but I lose the game. And then I started analyzing, like, what are the aspects that play into that? And I realized it's things like raid profile can really play into how you manage your empire.
Yeah, not having the poet economy is going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's one more level of complexity in the game, right? There's just, and it's one that you don't normally think about, especially in single player, because it's not really, your expansion is so rarely impacted by, did you decide to clear all the camps in a line or all the camps around you? It's so much more in single player. It's, where did the AI take? What sites do you have available to you? That kind of thought process. So yeah, interesting to see that component come out in a way that you just don't normally interact with.
And one thing that I haven't seen enough in this tournament is certain map layouts and map setups, right? Basically make it so there's going to be, like, even in the smaller maps, like a dual square map, right? I'm thinking Inland Sea in this case. We've seen a couple of Inland Sea games where there's like 5 or 6 camps on one side of the map that are effectively never able to get cleared. And it's not even an access thing. It's just because the border between you and your opponent gets set up so quickly that now you're skirmishing, or you're worried in that pressure from that opponent makes it so difficult to divert the time and attention to clear. And one thing I haven't seen enough of, it's been in some games, but not every game, is making actual use of peace and just shutting off raiders. In one game, one player was just getting raided the entire time. And it's like, dude, you have the tools to stop this. You don't need to suffer raids the entire game. It's like, sure, you can't go clear the camps, but make peace with them, stop the raids.
Yeah. Interesting too. It's another application of champions, right? If you want to rush for the middle, you may be better off doing that. You may want to incorporate into your thinking about which faction you choose a faction that is access champions. Steadfast might just become more valuable in the scenario where you want to do this rush for the center kind of thing. Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
But yeah,
even
other tools that you don't think about for like peace. Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, I think they're going to call it here. This was a fun one. Thanks for letting me come join you for it. Don't often get the chance to do the evening ones like this, but I had the time today, so kind of fun.
Thanks. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining in. And yeah, it looks like we're coming to a start there. So I'm just going to do a quick recap of everything. It looks like we have 3 ambitions done in Greece, but a whole host of them legacies that will likely failed. Even some of these later ambitions are probably not going to get set up because we have to get 100 wood economy. So unfortunately, I think IceMatrix is just going to have a massive legitimacy hit coming from all these failed ambitions over time. And it's just not going to get any easier, I think, as these all become legacies because of the way the ambition system works, unfortunately. And let's see here. Look at workers produced. 17 in Kush. So actually Kush took over the worker pacing here. It was more workers in Greece for a while. So 17 in Kush to 14 for IceMatrix. 11 military units to 9 in favor of IceMatrix. In favor of Kush as well. And both are neck and neck on tech, 13 to 12 in favor of Greece. Still a massive improvement economy, 79 improvements to 44 Sabertooth, and both have 2 wonders. Look at the charts we care about. Science, neck and neck in science, both 75 and 76, with only a 300 science tech lead for Greece. Military score, both neck and neck on that as well, 480 to 470. So honestly, yeah, as Filthy and I were saying before this comes to a close, both players are very neck and neck in a lot of metrics. Both have different strengths. I think we have a stronger, more consolidated empire with the Greeks, less of a raid profile, but we have more strategic territory and obviously more strategic grabs with the wonders here from the Kushites. So I'll be curious to see where this goes in the second half. Anyway, I'm going to bring this to an end. So thank you, everybody, joining us live. We have about 19 people in the chat here live with us. And if you've watched after the fact on YouTube, please give us a like, subscribe, go around to all the other content creators, follow them as well, and hop on the Discord to join the conversation. I'm Siontific, and this has been the Old World Community Tournament. Thanks again.